You got me.
How do we are here? You are there with our land back.
And after last Sunday's palaver with the electronic gubbinsery, it's good to say good evening. How are you? Indeed, go, 'tis I, Reiki and Rennie, and all set to... I'm sounding husky. Only because I feel like... There was me thinking that I'd it made doing just 2 nights a week. Last weekend it was just 1. So I give thanks to the electronic gremlins that played havoc with the tackle. Well, that was on Sunday night. We are back, lurching towards 1 o'clock in the usual manner. If you wish to join us, you're more than welcome. The number to do so is 0800 218 2255, and that is the only way of communicating with us for the next 3 hours until 1 o'clock. So it's once again 0800 218 2255. In the news, Mia Farrow, remember her? Yeah, Mia Farrow has been getting some stick on the bilious minestrone known as social media because she had the audacity to tweet that she was getting a bit sick of Harry and Meghan. Dear God, woman, what kept you? The rest of us got sick there years ago. And first it was Cummins the smartass. Now it's Rab the bully. But let's be fair, not all Dominics are slimy bullies who dish it out to their underlings, but bleat like stuck pigs when they get rumbled. Some, surely, some are decent human beings. The latest bit of dog news, you know I like to follow the dog news. Latest bit of dog news is that if you bark orders at them, bark, get it? You get nowhere. Apparently, it's best to talk gently to the dog. So, once again, Barbara Woodhouse, remember her, proved to be correct. You don't sit, you remember, sit. Yeah, you don't shout, but you're firm. I never quite got when she moved on, because when she taught every dog in Britain how to behave, she was kind of at a loss. So she moved on to horses, and I never really got the blowing up horses' noses as she advocated. And to be honest, I didn't try it. I mean, you can never find an horse when you've got enough strength to blow. Professor Vadim Gladyshev, maybe, of Harvard Medical School, claims that just being relaxed about things slows down ageing, helping the body to live longer. So, I'm going to live forever. Fox Media has settled a claim by voting equipment company Dominion that Fox had lied about faults in the system at the last presidential election in the United States. So far, yeah, there's the sort of, well, it alleged, Fox and others alleged, that there was inaccurate jiggery-pokery going on with the machines. And on the back of Dominion being paid $750 million in compensation, one of the people that promulgated that lie was a certain Donald Trump, who has said nothing on the matter. How very unusual that he stays silent, and yet, at the same time, predictable. And I read this week that the male contraceptive pill is very nearly upon us. It's taken a step closer, but it is worth remembering that old value, that there's no trusting the word of a man, particularly one who wants to have sex with you. No point in it whatsoever. For a man, the question, are you taking the male pill, will deliver as honest an answer as does the question, does my bum look big in this? Enough. Fantastic voice. And as soon as that music began, the sort of, what do they call it, when they have that thing in the end of the trumpet, changing the sound. As soon as you heard that, you knew, oh yeah, this is from yonks ago. Brilliant music. Anyway, 0800 218 2255 is the number. We're here till 1 o'clock in the morning, and you're more than welcome to join us to speak about whatever it is you wish to speak about. I'll do Lindsay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I've got two subjects, if that's okay.
Let's see.
One is my son's got COVID, and I wonder how many people are walking around with COVID and they don't know that they have it.
It's a good thought. There must be thousands, because we're not required to test anymore except in very limited circumstances, so we don't know. How's it affecting him?
Just like flu symptoms, and he can't taste anything.
Yeah.
But he done a home test, and obviously he has to stay off work. He can't go into work. My other subject is, I got my driving licence back about 2 weeks ago, because I had to have it taken off me because of my diabetes. So I got a car last week. Guess how much the insurance was? I went with the same insurance company that I've been with for donkey's years. Still have me 9 years no claims bonus. Guess how much my insurance was?
Well, yeah, I would imagine it's a lot, else you wouldn't be asking, but go on.
£989.
That is an awful lot.
They don't go by, because I'm diabetic. They go, if it's just if the DVLA say that I'm allowed to drive, then that's okay. But I don't know if it goes by, I don't understand if it goes by something by the size of the engine. I can just put petrol.
Well, it goes on a lot of things. I mean, I'm not an underwriter, but there are a lot of things involved. Most people think, oh, well, the car's not worth much more than that. And it's not about the value of the car as much as it is about, you know, if you knock somebody over, I'm not suggesting that you will, but if you knock somebody over who's the breadwinner of a family of 6, then that's going to cost the insurance company a very large amount of money, even though you might be driving a £300 car, who knows. But yeah, so it's all sorts of things that goes into it.
Well, I just think, even though, like, because I don't really understand that. I've got me 9 years no claims bonus still, and I've been with the same insurance company, so I've not had an accident. Touch wood. Good job I've got wood near me. So I just don't understand it all.
No.
And you wonder how these young ones can afford it.
Yeah, I mean, they do all sorts of things. They insure it for third party only, which is the minimum legal requirement of insurance, which reduces the premium because the insurance company thinks, well, at least we're not going to have to pay for the car. You know, so there's all sorts of things you can do, but in the end, motor insurance these days is very, very expensive. I'm not going to tell you how much mine is, but you want to try being a broadcaster for a living. Dear God. Seriously, I present programmes on BBC Local Radio, and I used to do the breakfast programme many years ago, and I came to renew my insurance, and I went to see the broker, and I said, why is it costing me so much? And I said, you know, he said, because you're a broadcaster, because of what you do. And I said, well, I do the breakfast programme. I don't go to nightclubs, you know. I'm in bed. And I don't go to them anyway. I hate them. And he said, just imagine if you were giving Rod Stewart a lift to the station or the airport and you crash your car. The insurance company would get done for tens of millions. And I said,
what?
How often do you think Rod Stewart gets a lift off a local radio presenter? He's chauffeur-driven in a Bentley.
What was your insurance like when you were a driving instructor?
Phenomenal. Because there are people who can't driving your car.
But you've got the pedals on your
You've got the pedals, yes, but you've not got full control. You've got more control than an ordinary, if you like, passenger seat passenger. But you as the instructor are actually in charge of the car, whilst the person who's got most of the controls is not, and they can't drive. That's why they're there. But yes, it was very expensive.
Oh, right. Okay, thank you. That's all I want to talk about tonight.
Have a good one, Lindsay. Car insurance is, for many, including me, a complete and utter mystery. I think it's inevitable that it's going to be expensive when it's a legal requirement to have it, because that's the first step, isn't it? They've already got you by the nasties, because you can't drive without it. But it can be ludicrously expensive and almost impenetrable. And they say shop around, but you shop around on a £500 policy and you might save 20 quid, which is not a bad saving. But, is it? I mean, I took out insurance 3 years ago and they guaranteed the same price for 3 years. But I look at it now and I think, what am I saving? And the answer's over the 3 years, about 50 quid. For such is life. How do, Chris?
All right, Al.
I'm very well, thank you.
I had a couple of opinions and a fact to state.
Right.
I was going to talk about something else, but I'll talk about the insurance first. I don't drive, but as far as I can tell, car insurance seems like a bet that you never win.
I think that's a good way of describing it.
Because the one thing I do know about insurance is that, when it was first used?
Oh, it's a long time ago, but no, I don't know. But I remember reading yonks ago. It's like ludicrously long time ago.
It was, like the 1500s, 1600s, when people owned ships and sent them overseas to get cargo, sugar, whatever. The insurance was to make sure if the ship sank that they got the money back from what they would have sold their goods for.
Yeah.
But the actual people who died on the ship when it sank, they didn't get nothing, and neither did the families. In some cases, they were actually charged for the uniforms that they lost.
Yeah, the whole story of The Merchant of Venice by William Shakespeare, one of his better-known plays, the whole contract in that all the argy-bargy's about, you may spill one drop of blood and all that caper, the pound of flesh, that's all about insuring a merchant vessel.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. I've never thought about it that way. But when I've seen the play, I was quite sympathetic to the Shylock more than to the merchant. Because he did make a contract with them, and then he got...
He did, yes. But we're going to end up talking about Shakespeare, how delightful. But he did make that contract, but the contract he made had malicious intent. He always wanted the ship to go down so that he could kill Antonio, I think the ship owner's name was.
It depends on how the play is performed, on how one would interpret it.
Well, yes, but the whole essence is that thing about Portia, the lawyer and lover, I think, of Antonio. Portia makes that you can have your pound of flesh, but it says nothing in this contract of any blood. So you can take your pound of flesh from any part of Antonio's body you wish, but you spill one drop of blood, which you're not entitled to by contract, and you are in serious trouble. So the whole
it's kind of like that. If you heard that joke, a fella asks, I'm going to try and be as clean as possible.
Oh, thank you.
A fella finds a genie lamp, and the genie says, I'll grant you one wish. And he says, I wish me family jewels reach to the floor. So the genie makes his legs disappear.
I was in a mini play at school in our class when I was about 10, and we had this, the idea was that a wizard would come and there'd be a man and a wife, a husband and a wife sat there, and they just had a row, and a wizard arrived. They'd had a row because his dinner wasn't ready or something, and a wizard arrived and granted the man 3 wishes. And they were still arguing about food, and he eventually said, I wish I had a sausage as long as my arm. And so the wizard granted him the sausage, and he stuck it on his nose. and so it all went a bit weird. And then at some point, the only wish he had left was to wish that the sausage be removed. And so that was the moral of the story. Very strange. Left a mark on a 10-year-old Beswick, but a fat lot of good it's done.
Well, I've got two other things to say.
Okay.
You know the thing on the end of a trumpet? I think it's called a dampener.
The thing that goes into the... That's the one, yeah. Right, it's a dampener, is it? Okay.
I think so. I'm not 100%.
Okay.
And the other thing, have you heard about the alert that's going off tomorrow?
Oh, yes, can't wait.
At 3 o'clock, yeah. Your call handler hasn't heard of it.
Oh, well, tomorrow at 3. I'm fortunate in that I don't use a mobile phone, so I'll only hear other people's.
Yeah. Neither do I. But I don't use a smartphone. But I've heard the noise it's going to make, and it's quite a rubbish noise. It sounds like it doesn't sound like there's an emergency. It sounds like there's a vehicle reversing.
Oh, does it? Oh, well, I heard it this morning, or I think I heard it this morning when they played a bit of it on the Today programme, and I didn't think it sounded like that, but we'll all find out at 3 o'clock tomorrow. It's going to be marvellous. It's going to be so much fun.
I haven't been able to get in touch with the government over this, but I thought that the sound should be Kenneth Williams going, oh...
Oh, matron.
Yeah, oh. Imagine if like there was a load of people in the pub and
suddenly
40 of them went off a quarter of a second after each other.
Yeah, that would be fun. That I would pay money for. Have a good night. Sorry, go on.
And you, ta-da.
Ta-da, mate. Oh, matron. 0800 218 2255. Yeah, it's all going to go off tomorrow. Apparently, you can with some... They explained it this morning. I didn't understand it, but you can in your mobile phone. You can tell it not to hear this message. You can. I don't know how, and if I knew how, I'd probably not be happy with myself. But anyway, there is a way you can tell your phone not to receive it at any point. But otherwise, it will go off at 3 o'clock tomorrow, by all accounts, and. It's going to be fun in cinemas and places like that. And the other one is for... And the sort of Women's Aid organisation have been quite concerned about it, quite understandably concerned, because, of course, if a woman has a secret phone that she's been given by Women's Aid or even the police or what have you, so that if she is under attack, she can immediately use a phone that the partner doesn't know she's got to dial the cops and have her life saved. Well, if that phone does the alarm, then her secret phone won't be a secret anymore, and she could be in serious trouble. So there are serious implications for it as well. I'll do Martin.
Hello, Allan.
Hello.
Okay?
I'm very well, thank you.
Hello. Yeah. What it is, it's about regarding one of your callers called Glenn. He said he's having a problem getting a girlfriend. Might be able to help him a bit in that respect.
Right.
I think what might help a lot, though, is to try and meet the person in person. So you get to know, get a true profile, like his mannerisms, has he got a nervous tick, what he might be unaware of, and what somebody else can point out where he's going wrong. For etc., like say, you could stand too close, stare too long. I mean, I did that myself, but I was unaware of it, so somebody pointed it out.
Mm-hmm.
And also, if you get a physical profile right away, because usually with women, first impressions tend to count, like height, or does he wear glasses? And he might not be around decent people, he could be in the wrong environment. And I think, really, the best way to make a friend is to be a friend, and try and be interested in the person first. I mean, his job, it could be around people that could be very negative. I mean, he might not be in female company, or it could be around the wrong people. And if that's the case, maybe like some voluntary work, where he's likely to be surrounded by really nice people, more so women, like somewhere like with maybe Age UK. And it's like you say, he's probably been marginalised and left out, so he's not been able to communicate. So he could appear to be a bit backward, so that sort of like creates a vicious cycle where he could have like a social skills or. That's what I think might be.
If he's listening, he may be pleased to hear that. But Martin, thank you for your attempts. I'll do Paul.
I'll do Alan. You okay?
Very well, thanks.
Good stuff, mate. Just wanted to sort of, I guess, have a little bit of a rant, but also maybe draw on any advice that you might give. I live just outside of Ormskirk, and two of the favourite pastimes that I have are cycling and walking. And because I've been doing it for so long, one thing that I've noticed exponentially is the amount of dogs that are out and about now, and increasingly how uncomfortable I feel when I see people with them, if that makes sense. And I know that you can be a bit of a pariah these days for speaking out against animals. I don't like dogs, I'll be honest, and I'm a cat person. But I walk down, like, for example, the Cheshire Lines Path, and I see so many people walking dogs, and the people who are walking the dogs have them off the lead, and they only ever look in front of them. They never sort of look over the shoulder to see if there might be somebody behind them. And I constantly notice that the dogs do look over the shoulder, and the dogs know I'm there, but the owner of the dogs don't know I'm there. And I feel generally uncomfortable. I don't feel like there are many, or I feel there's an increased amount of people who are walking dogs who aren't in control of the dogs, you know? And that goes hand in hand with the amount of dog mess that is sort of prevalent now. Wherever you go, if you walk down the canal, down the Leeds Liverpool, or wherever you're walking, and it's at the point where I'm very non-confrontational. I don't want to sort of say to somebody, put your dog on the lead, or make me feel comfortable in the presence of your dog. So I guess the next level there would be, what do you do? Do you go to the council? Do you ask them to have heightened awareness of it? Or are they bothered? You know?
Well, I can't speak for council, say whether they're bothered or not. I'm sure the dog mess all over the place, councils are less than pleased with, but they don't take much action in dealing with it. And once people get off the sort of paved roads, if you like, and pavements, and go on to canal banks and all that, they think it doesn't matter anymore. They think, you know, It's a dog, it's just like a squirrel having a crap in the street. You know, they just let it happen, they don't care. Some dog owners, quite a lot, do care, but quite a lot don't.
Yeah, you get the impression that if they've got the dog in a place whereby they might be seen not to pick up the dog muck, then they'll do something about it. But once you're off the beaten track, they totally don't. But I think the worst thing is the degree of intimidation that I do feel. I don't feel like many people are actually in control of their dogs. And I believe during the pandemic, most people during lockdown got themselves a dog. And I'm not blaming the dogs, because it's about how you socialise them and how you train them. And, you know, it all goes back to the dog owner. But it's unnerving. I've been walking for decades all around the place and cycling all around the place, and increasingly now I don't get the impression that the people that I encounter are in control of their dogs. Does that resonate with you or any of your listeners, do you think?
Well, I can't speak for the listeners, they'll have their own words. But if a dog is not on a lead, then the owner is not in control of it, full stop. And somebody will come on and say, what about sheepdogs? Well, yes, but they're highly trained and highly specialised, you know. But if your dog, ordinary Joe Bloke with his or her dog, if it's not on a lead, they're not in control of it. They might think they are, they might pretend they are, they might arrogantly fight you to the ground to prove that they are, but they're not, any more than they're in control of their children. But at least they can explain to their children. Can't explain to a dog It's just a bag of bones and flesh that craps at one end and bites at the other. That's it.
It does. And do you know what? It's tenuous. I mean, I did some Googling on it, and apparently a dog owner or a dog owner committing a crime goes to the degree whereby if it doesn't necessarily have to bite a person, but if a person feels intimidated to the degree whereby they might be injured by that dog, then that dog owner is committing a crime. But you can imagine how tenuous that is. You know, if I have a dog come up and snarl at me and I feel like I'm going to be bitten by it, you can. How the heck am I ever going to make a case out of that? You know. And it is intimidating, man. You know,
it's very intimidating for those who are disturbed by it. One has to say there were nearly 9,000 cases of dog attacks between 2021 and 2022 that required some kind of involvement of the NHS. So there will be more that didn't. So there were about just under 9,000. But of course, that is a lot. There's no escaping that's a lot. But when you compare it to the millions and millions and millions of encounters between dogs and strangers, it's a minuscule proportion. But if you've just had your finger bitten off, you don't care that you're the only one in 10,000. You think, hang on a minute, I've still got no finger. You know, so it's that kind of thing. But, you know, I dislike dogs intensely, so you're pushing us an open door here. But the overwhelming majority of encounters between strange humans, by strange I mean not known to the dog and the dog, are tiny. I mean, I walk a lot as well. I walk along the promenade every single day, well, almost every single day, and there are dogs aplenty there. But, you know, most of them are on leads. The ones that aren't are usually under control in so much as they are following the commands of their owner. But, you know, if they're not under control, they can't be. It's just...
No, they can't.
That's how it is.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I read. A lot of farmers get vilified for the fact that occasionally they have to shoot dogs. And there's a concept amongst dog owners that farmers are sat there with a shotgun waiting to intentionally shoot a dog. And I've read a few interviews in wildlife magazines and country magazines whereby farmers have said they're heartbroken when it gets to the point where they have to shoot somebody else's dog because they love dogs. You know, they work with dogs. That's part of their trade. And so many people, there's a bridge between the fact that they think that they can heal their dog whilst walking to the park, but the same command means absolutely nothing if that dog has just seen an animal that it wants to have an issue with. And then it goes out the window, you know?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, if I was a farmer, and the only reason I would be a farmer is to have the opportunity to shoot dogs, I'd have to be a sheep farmer. So I think, well, this is all right. Look at that, he's worrying my sheep. Bang, that's another one gone. Fine, a few more of them, we'll be right, you know. That's the only reason I would ever be one. But, yeah.
And the other thing is as well, I mean, I see so many, yeah, and it's not a gender thing, but I do also, when I'm out on my bike, there's somebody I see regularly who's got this massive, it's a Doberman or a Rottweiler, whichever is the bigger, and she must weigh about the same as one of my legs. She weighs about 9 stone, this lady. And if that dog, which weighs about the same as her, wanted to pull the leash out of her hand, it would do. She would have no control over it whatsoever, you know?
Yeah,
she physically would not be strong enough to keep hold of that animal if that animal wanted to make a grab at me. And I just think that anything you could do with regards to the council would be after the event, and that's after I've gone down to A&E and been sewn up.
They do from time to time. I mean, certainly on the public highway, they do from time to time get people prosecuted for having their dog not on a lead in a place where it is required to do so, but it's very infrequent.
It is, yeah, and that would be somewhere where there would be somebody to witness it, which in a rural area, it wouldn't happen. You're not going to get some dog from the council walking around saying if dogs are on leads or muzzled, are you? And it just, for me, it puts a degree of anxiety to something that is essentially about the relief of anxiety, going for a walk or a bike ride.
Yeah, but I mean, we have to be careful here, because I've had many a conversation on this programme where women say, callers to this programme, a woman has more than once said, when I'm out after 7 or 8 o'clock at night, if I see a man, I feel uncomfortable. I feel afraid. Now, the chances of that woman being injured in any way by that man, again, are probably, in terms of encounters versus bad results, millions to one against, but it doesn't diminish the fear. But how do you deal with that? It's the same problem. It's some of it is the sensation within the beholder, if you like. You feel less than comfortable in the presence, but statistically it's an irrational fear.
It is, yeah. I mean, I can be accountable for my actions, and humans can, but the annoying thing is that dogs can't. They're non-human animals.
Well, no, but I mean, all of that is true, but you still have to look at the numbers. There are millions of people encounter dogs that they don't know off leads running about every day with no misadventure. And the unfortunate analogy is a woman walking along right now on the way home from the cinema, or the way home from being with friends, or the way home from visiting her granny, and she's walking down a street and there's a bloke walking behind her and she feels uncomfortable. It's irrational, and you can't rule irrationality.
No, you can't. But irrespective of that, I mean, that's relating a human's feelings against the presence of another human, and I'm talking about a non-human animal.
Well, yes, but still, the statistics are still there. How many times you say you encounter these dogs frequently? How many times have you been attacked?
Not yet, but I'm very
No. The answer to the question is, how many times you've been attacked? Neither. Never.
None. But does
so
that
the
necessarily
risk
mean I never will be?
No, it doesn't mean you never will be, just like it's perfectly possible that as you're walking along the canal bank, it gives in and you fall in and drown. How many times has that happened? Never. Are you afraid of it? No. Why? Because it's very, very unlikely statistically. Same with the dog.
Yeah, it's just, I don't feel, I think, I mean, didn't there used to be dog licences? Didn't you used to have a licence to have a
yes,
dog
but it used to be 7 and 6pence. Today that'd be 38 pence, give or take. And I feel sure somebody who's just gone out and bought a dog for 600 quid, believe it or not, they do, 600 quid, are not going to be worried about the 10 bob for a licence.
No, they're not. It's worrying, though. It is worrying, and I also know that statistically the amount of dog attacks has gone up by something like a third since before the pandemic.
It went up 10% between the 2 years, the year preceding the one I just gave you, which is 21-22. So it's gone up 10%, but it does go up.
It does, and from what I've read, it's irrespective of the actual breed of dog. It's not to do with the breed of dog. It's to do with the amount of socialisation that the owner gives it. And terriers are probably accountable for more bites on humans than XL bullies.
I have no idea, but Paul, I mean, you are correct in that they should be under control, and it is a criminal offence for them not to be under control, particularly if they worry some sheep or harm a human. Good to hear from you, Paul. 0800 218 2255. I can't understand why I have to have the damn things anyway. How do, John?
How do, Alan? Are you all right?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good. Just about insurance. I was driving today and I was approaching some traffic lights. And I know these lights that I'm approaching has got a filter to the right. There's a car parked in the right-hand lane, waiting to turn right, and it's got a sign in the back window, "Please don't get frustrated with my driving. I am being monitored with a black box." Mm-hmm. So I believe that's for the younger drivers, which is quite a good idea. And as I pulled level with the car, it was a young girl, and she sat there texting away on the phone. And I thought, what is all that about? Her driving's being monitored, but she's not even looking what the hell's going on. So then the lights change, and I just thought, I'll just have a look at this, and she's still there texting. She wasn't even aware the lights had changed and nothing. And I think, what? You know, whether you talk about dogs doing this or people are breaking the law constantly, no matter what's going on. I mean, this mobile phone situation where people are just driving down and texting and whatever, it's obviously they're doing it because they think, well, they're not going to get caught. And if they do get caught, £200, 6 points, it's a lot to me, but I don't think a lot of these people, it is a lot to. I think you need to possibly increase it. You know, increase the fine and increase the points.
It doesn't matter how much you increase it by. You hit upon it at the first part of your thought, and that is, unless you fear being caught, the punishment doesn't matter.
Yeah, I can understand that, but you would fear it more, wouldn't you, if it was more harsh? You know, if it's £200 and 6 points.
It doesn't matter if it's £200 and you can never drive again. £2,000 you can never drive again. If you're not going to get caught, they can make it £1 million. It doesn't matter. You're not going to get caught.
Yeah,
it's
I understand what you're saying.
Let me answer me this, if you will. How many uniformed police officers do you think have had their pocket picked?
The last one I seen was on Carry On Constable, I think.
Indeed, but notwithstanding Carry On films, in real life, how many times do you think a pickpocket thinks, oh, there's a bloke in a blue uniform with buttons and a funny hat, I think I'll go and steal his wallet. Do you think it happens? Happen. It's not going to happen. Why?
You don't see a policeman now walking around.
Okay, but even if you did, and in the days when you did, why do you think it didn't happen?
Because they know they get caught.
Ooh, that's it. So they don't do it. But does that stop them pickpocketing? No.
Yeah. But my opinion, I think that, you know, I've seen the speed camera around St Anne's today, parked in 3 different three different spots, which you know, which is good, and they'll catch a lot of people. But I think the mobile phone is just as dangerous as people doing 40 mile an hour in a 30. I think they need to just probably monitor that a little bit more as well. You know, it's just one of them things. And I mean, you know, that's that on that. But going on about, I've got a dog, I take the dog out and I pick it, religiously I pick the muck up and I put it in the bin. The amount of muck you see 10 yards, 15 yards from the bin is absolutely unbelievable. And it makes you mad. You think, why has this person done that? And they're so near to the bin that they can't even be bothered to, because they're probably doing it when it's first thing in the morning, when it's dark, at night, when it's dark, and they think, well, nobody's going to catch me, similar to the mobile phone situation. They do it because they know they're not going to get caught.
I rest my case.
And another bit, they've got near St Anne's Pier, they've got CCTV, you know, like monitors near the pier and up and down. And when I walk down there some mornings, there's dog muck in the middle of the pavement, and I think, well, why aren't they looking on CCTV and seeing who's doing it? I just, you know, it's half a job, isn't it? Half a job. Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. I just, You've
said it. Good on you. I mean, you are absolutely correct in that respect. It is outrageous that people do not pick up after their dogs, and the ones that pick up and then hang it in a tree are even worse, in a way. How do Simon?
Hello, Allan. I want to talk, I've just heard it on radio. It's about Blackpool Zoo are getting a person who's, they're going to employ a person who's dressed up as an eagle to frighten seagulls away. I'm not for that. I've been to Blackpool Zoo, and the seagulls do know. Are people all wallflowers or what? No, are you still there, Allan? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Yeah, it's like, well, yeah, they're getting it. It's just been on news now, and they're getting somebody to dress up as an eagle to frighten seagulls. Seagulls are God's creatures.
Well, they might well be. They might well be God's creatures. But, listen, they are indeed God's creatures, if you believe that thing, seagulls, of course they are. So also is every other creature, like rats and mice and all other kinds of vermin.
We used to have rats when we were kids, you know, we the greater rats.
Right, as a pet?
Yeah, we have pets, pet rats, yeah.
No, that's fine. But wild rats are also, in your words, God's creatures. Do you welcome those into your home?
No, I'm not on about my home. I'm on about the zoo. When
I know.
When people are getting like
you're saying that seagulls are harmless. They're not. You're saying they're God's creatures. Well, fine. You can believe that if you wish. They're not harmless. They're horrible bloody things.
Well, that's a full stop. I don't think they're horrible. I think they're lovely.
Okay, well,
I like animals, you know.
I'll message Blackpool Zoo, and if this bloke doesn't manage, I presume it's a bloke in the eagle uniform. I can't imagine a woman being so stupid. So if it's a bloke I'll get him, instead of chasing them off, to catch them and put them all in a big sack and bring them round your house, Simon. I hope you enjoy their company. How do, Mike?
How do, Allan? Now, last week I opened up by telling you I'd bought a sensational machine called the Mantis, on which you can write via a QWERTY keyboard, both Braille and print. You can derive both Braille and print. And I asked you, why would such a thing be called Mantis? And of course, predictably, we both came up with the word praying mantis. So I thought, well, they wouldn't want it to be associated with that sort of thing. So I looked, by happy coincidence, I heard something the other evening about the mantis. Apparently, these creatures have incredible vision. I don't know whether you were tuned into this. And seemingly, rather like a bee, they can see far more than we humans can, much more sort of finer detail. And I thought that is the probable explanation as to why they call this little beauty that I bought a mantis. Would you think so?
No idea. I mean, it's as good a theory as any. I'm not the favourite. I mean, it might even be a mnemonic, mightn't it?
It could be. I'll try and find out, and I'll try and not mention it again, because I think we've done it to death now. What I did want to ask you about, something that I thought would have caught your eye in the news this week. 10 years ago, the famous racing driver, Michael Schumacher, had a very serious accident in which he received sustained head injuries, and he's not been seen or heard in public since. This week, his family sued a magazine in Germany for publishing what they claimed to be the first interview with Michael Schumacher since his accident. When pressed, the disingenuous magazine publishers admitted that the answers to the interview questions had all been provided by artificial intelligence. Allan, have we anything to worry about the media in future when you see a sensationalised article of this nature?
To worry about? No.
Yeah. No?
No point worrying.
Well, be concerned about. I mean,
just another word for worrying.
The genuineness, of such a thing, is it to be suspected? More so than would have been in the past or prior to last month.
Well, given that there's a court case about to happen, that may well have an influence on how it is used. But all new technology poses a risk to the older system, as it were.
Of course, as time has gone by, one's become more aware of the negative reasons why we should be suspicious or worried about the effects of artificial intelligence, would you say?
Well, certainly people are getting concerned at what artificial intelligence can do and does and has been demonstrated to do. But they used to make you walk in front of a motor car with a red flag because we were terrified of what it might do. When they opened the railway line from Liverpool to Manchester, people were aghast that it would go at 20 miles per hour. And the question was asked, how will they breathe? How will the passengers breathe? Whizzing along at 20 miles an hour, how will they be able to get their breath? I don't think it was 20, I think it might have been 30, but whatever it was, no human being had ever travelled at that speed before unless he fell off a building, and his breathing wasn't a major problem.
How was it? This may be a red herring, but how was it that Castlereagh got killed by the train?
I think he got in the way of the line. He stood on the line, didn't he? The
think
MP.
he must have done.
He's an MP. You can't expect too much from him. You know, I'm an MP. I tell you to stop. Woo woo. Bump. There you are. Can you? You're next.
I think they'd stopped for some sort of break, hadn't they?
I have no idea.
So you're saying, put aside your suspicions, Mike, and everybody else. Artificial intelligence is going to be the greatest thing since sliced bread.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I don't even know how you deduce that from what I did say. I'm just saying it is going to happen, and we will have to learn to live with it, and we will.
Yeah.
As we have with everything else.
Well, I think it's part of a rapidly deteriorating system. All this online stuff, and
no, it's just a changing system.
Yeah, but there's very great cause to be again concerned about it. I would say.
Well, concerned, it depends what you mean by concern. That's got so many available interpretations. Yeah. We have to be aware of it and we have to adjust to it.
Yeah.
And some of us can be Luddite, like me and the mobile phone. We don't play with each other. But that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with a mobile phone. The use of it has saved many a life. The use of it has protected people from getting lost on the hills forever. So it has its benefits. But, I've not got one. I can't be asked.
No, of course not. Well, you've only, rather like myself at the moment, you've presumably got one on which you only make the odd call rather than receive.
I have one in the car that if I need to use it, and that's been about 4 times in the past 10 years, I switch it on, make the call, switch it off.
What I'm driving at, Alan, as it were, is the perilous thought of so many people being hoodwinked on the internet and defrauded of money. This sort of cybercrime is the most prevalent form of crime that exists now.
Yeah, referring to a call earlier, one of the reasons being it's very difficult to catch the perpetrator. But yes, it is one of the most prevalent crimes, and we are having to learn, Joe Unsuspector, we're having to learn how to protect ourselves against that. And there are a variety of ways of doing it. Some electronic, some just plain ordinary common sense. I got a phone call the other day from a woman with an Indian accent saying, it's BT and she wants to check my broadband. I put the phone down.
Yes. Yeah. which I suppose if I go on much longer about it, you'll do on me. But thank you very much, Alan.
My pleasure. 0800 218 2255. We should join as you can. We're here till 1 o'clock. And I suspect it wasn't BT, by the way. I suspect it was somebody who was going to say, we need to check it, and we need you to just connect it up with us and ring us back, and they give us a number, I ring them back, and we do all that, and it's a palaver, and then they say, we can check it, but unfortunately, to check it properly, we'll need you to pay 50 quid, and just give us your bank details, and I give them my bank details, and they take everything that's in my bank, which will disappoint them, because they'll only get 49 quid. But we are all having to learn how to deal with the new technology, aren't we? I mean, there's nothing we can do about that. That is the way the world goes. As I say, they were worried sick about how people would manage to breathe on the very first passenger train journey. And now, of course, we're flying through the sky at 600 miles per hour, and we seem to be able to breathe just fine. Unfortunately, what we're breathing is other people's farts, but that's because they have a closed system on some airlines. I believe they now have air from outside passing through the plane. I don't know for sure. I try not to think about it. But the idea of sitting there and breathing the collective diseases and farts of my fellow passengers is, well, uncomfortable. The only joy I get is when I fart, I know there's a bloke in first class going to have to sniff it. 0800 218 2255. Well, they just circulate it to them all. I don't think they filter it out for the first and leave us poor buggers in second class. Well, there's third now, isn't it? They've got this. They've now got a third class on plane. You're not sat on benches yet, but you got first. Well, your first class, or business class as they now call it. Yeah. Business class doesn't mean you can do your business in the aisles, unless you're a dog. And then somebody's got to pick it up. No, business class. And then they've got steerage or ordinary. I don't know what they call it. And then there's this other one, which is ordinary with knobs on. But not, you don't get to lie down. It's very complicated. How do, Neil?
Oh, hello, Alan. Yes, I'd like to mention about the women's Six Nations today, and also at the end I've got a non-gender rugby joke. Okay, yeah. So today then I watched it. It was on terrestrial TV. It was Ireland 0, England 48. So my point was before, because I mentioned this about Italy when a bit about why is it? Why is England so much better than Ireland 0? It's not like they're new to the game, so I'm just wondering.
Well, it isn't like they're new to the game if we're talking about the men, but the Irish.
No, that women, yeah.
I know the Ireland men's team is very, very good, possibly the best in the world at the moment. But the Ireland women's team is not full-time professional, whereas some of the England women's team are, so that gives them an advantage. There aren't as many clubs yet, so it takes time, and it will always be. A good many decades ago, the England football team was the best in the world because no one else was playing it. And then they started, more and more countries started to play it, and now there are teams that thrash England. Indeed, that seems to be one of their hobbies of most of the other teams in the world. I don't think an English team has ever won the World Series at baseball. This is because they don't play it. Now, if we started to play it...
Going back to the women's Six Nations, mentioned then, I'm just trying to... you said some of the English players, women players and that, you said some are professional. Not they all professional, I don't know.
I don't know for sure either, which is why I'm protecting my accuracy by saying some of them are. It may well be that they all are.
Yeah, or none of them are.
It isn't the case that none of them are. It's like the England women's team are doing very, very well, but they're often playing against teams of amateurs, even international teams of amateurs.
Yeah, so what about, I'm thinking of the four nations here, what are Scotland and Wales? Why is it England? So is it because the coach, the good coaches. What I mean.
Well, it's because they have better facilities. If they're full-time, they have better facilities. They don't have to do another job. They can train together more frequently. They can use weightlifting and all that capability. They don't have to do it on their own at home and hope they do it well. They are able to work together as a team more easily than the disjointed groups of amateurs.
Yeah, but it was lovely to watch. I mean,
no, I'm sure it was. I didn't watch it.
That. It's just having from Ireland with like Ireland 0. You know, I mean, you know what I mean. It's a bit of a one-sided one, you know. So
yes, and I didn't watch it because that was almost certainly going to be the case. Rather like we used to in the Six Nations for men. We used to enjoy playing Italy because at least it meant we'd get one victory, wouldn't we? Because we'd thrash them. Yeah. But, I mean, they've still only won, as far as I'm aware, Italy have still only won one game in the Six Nations, but they've given some of the, what we might call more senior teams, a run for their money and scared the pants off them more than once. And before too long, they'll be beating us.
Yeah, you're talking the male game then.
Well, the male game is further ahead, as it were, in terms of standard and quality, although it's falling apart financially at the moment, but yes.
Yeah. Well, but can I just a joke, a non-gender joke about rugby?
Go ahead.
Yeah, why did Paul McCartney turn down a chance to appear on a famous American TV talk show because he wanted to stay at home and watch his favourite sport on TV? But it's a long intro, isn't it? You know?
Long question,
Yeah. Because the punchline was because it was Ellen or rugby. Thank you. Goodbye.
Ellen or rugby? Ellen or rugby? Well, there we go. Takes all sorts, doesn't it? 0800 218 2255. If you want to join us, you can. And if you'd like to explain the humour in that joke, then I'd be more than happy for you to do so, because I got to tell you, I got nowhere near it. 0800 218 2255. Let's have some tune. She's got Betty Davis. Very, very good. Oh, apparently, to stay at home to watch Ellen Rigby. Tripe. How do, William?
Hello, I just mentioned that, Ellen Rigby. Yes. Sorry, baby, to it. Did not get it. No, a bit
I do now. It's not funny, but I do get it. I understand.
No, I know it's not funny now, but no. Are you okay then?
I'm very well. Are you well?
Yeah, fine. Yeah, I've been to Bury today. Get some black puddings.
Very good. I don't eat them myself. They're horrible things.
Pig's blood.
Indeed, and pig's fat. Blood. Pig's blood and fat, and some herbs apparently.
I've never seen you, so I can't. Well, you're criticising. It's not like you're not supposed to be fat. You might be just plump.
Well, it's the same thing, isn't it? No, I was saying that the substance within a black pudding is pig's blood and fat. Yeah. Those little white globules are fat.
Oh yeah.
And then there's condiments and some herbs, apparently.
Well, they go down well. Some mashed potato, after clue.
Well, indeed.
5 in the morning at breakfast.
Well, to each their own. They're not for me, I'm afraid, but to each their own.
All right, Alan. So I wish you a good night.
Have a good night yourself. 0800 218 2255. I suppose it's thunder by suddenly having that joke land upon my head. It's rather uncomfortably. Years ago, when my dad played darts at the Limes Club, they used to, when the other teams came, they used to provide them with black puddings. That was the idea. Somebody, a different bloke had to make them every week. And one of the lads who was new to the team, they said, it's your turn to get the black puddings ready for the opponent. All right, he said, what do I do? Oh, you just boil them. He put them in a pan and he boiled them for an hour. And apparently at the bottom of the pan was this sludge. So they just served it up with bread in a dish and with a spoon. I don't know whether they won the darts or not, but that was the most memorable thing of the evening. 0800 218 2255. How do Anna?
Hello. Yeah, I was just going to explain the joke to you
please,
about Eleanor Rigby, but I'm sure that...
Pretty naff, wasn't it, really?
It was a bit naff, but I got it straight away.
Did you? Cleverer than everybody is.
Well, saying now... Yep, we've just been doing our murder mystery play at Cornerstone Church in West Horton.
Oh, how did it go? I've heard they're fun.
It was brilliant, yeah. You need a good audience. We had a really, really good audience, as we did last night.
So you were the performer, or one of the performers?
I was one of the performers, yeah. I was the Black Widow.
The Black Widow? What the hell?
One of the suspects. But it wasn't me, honest my lord.
Oh, don't tell them. Some others might come. Who writes them?
We're finished now.
Oh, right.
A bloke called Chris Martin. Brilliant.
Oh, I've heard of him.
Fairly local. Yeah.
Oh, really? I haven't then. No,
local.
Oh, no, I think the Chris Martin I've heard of is in a pop group.
Oh, well, it won't be him then.
No, I think it's Coldplay or something. Yeah.
Right, no,
and
it's
they're fun to do.
Him.
And what happens? How? I've never seen one. How does it work?
Well, this is a murder mystery play, not just a murder mystery where you get involved yourself. You go to hotels and get involved. Somebody's dead and you've got to sort it out.
Right.
But this is a play. We do the play on stage and give clues to the audience, and they just have to solve it.
Yeah. So like the Mousetrap or some other, what's that one that JB? What was that one that JB Priestley wrote? The Inspector Calls. That's a murder mystery play, isn't it? Yeah. So it's one of those.
Well, this tonight was similar to the Mousetrap because it all involved hats, all people wearing the same hats. So
right, I've never seen the Mousetrap, so that comment was lost on me.
Yeah.
Have you seen it? You've seen the Mousetrap?
Seen the Mousetrap and see how they run. It's fantastic. The film.
Yeah, well, isn't See How They Run? Isn't that a comedy?
It's a comedy, yeah, but it's based on the Mousetrap. It's as if it was the Mousetrap on stage, yeah. Brilliant.
Oh, right. Oh, actually, yes. Yes, I remember that. I think I saw that the other day on the telly.
Yeah? Oh.
Yeah.
It's really good. Yep.
Quite funny. Good on you. Well done you. Treading the boards. Good on you, Anna. And thank you for explaining the joke. Have a good night. 0800 218 2255. I'll do Michael.
Hello. You all right?
I'm very well.
Yeah, I'm good. Just having a drive at the minute. No, I'm just interested in talking about the current climate in the country.
You're not driving at the moment, are you, Michael?
No, I'm not driving personally, no.
Okay. Nothing else?
Which? No, I was waiting for you to ask me to talk, that's all.
Right, okay. Well, thank you. I don't know what was going on there, but I don't have to, so it doesn't matter. 0800 218 2255. If you want to join us, that's good. Pick up your phone and have your say. It's dead easy. I saw a story today. Sometimes you see things and you think, what? I mean, some MPs are calling for the bloke who's running the doctors' strike to be sacked from his job because he's gone on holiday. Now, I don't want to get involved in who's right and who's wrong. It's not my place or my business, and I'm neither a doctor nor a member of the government, so, it's not up to me. But given that the government have said we're not going to talk to the doctors until they abandon their demand for whatever the rise is, 35% or whatever, it's not like he's going to be called in to negotiate because they're not prepared to. So he's gone on his holidays. And it seems a bit rich from the very people who've stood by and watched the NHS get sick, all for the sake of a few quid. when it's the primary job of MPs, let's be honest, to protect the people of this nation. But MPs go on holiday. They've only just come back off flipping holiday, haven't they? They've only just come back. And, you know, Whit's coming along. That'll be another fortnight. And then there's the summer when they bugger off for 3 months or whatever it is. I mean, come on. They can't whinge about people having holidays. They're hardly ever there. And they don't have to go if they don't want. They still get the 86,000 a year, whether they turn up or not. Red, blue, pink or green. They're all liable for what's going on, said a BBC spokesperson. I'll do Jacqueline.
Hello, my dear. Are you all right?
Yeah, fine, thanks.
Have you heard about Rexham today?
Yeah.
The football club?
I have, yes.
Yeah. And they've had good coverage from BBC as well. But you know, they keep saying that Wrexham, the town of Wrexham. But it's a city.
Yeah, indeed it is.
Yeah. Not that anybody wanted to be a city, because...
Well, somebody must have done. They applied for it.
The council did, not the people. Because if you're a city, they think, oh, great, we're a city, we can bung up the council tax, can't we, being a city. But good coverage of the football, the outcome on the news. And I listen to it on the radio, because I don't have Sky and all that stuff. But I remember a long time ago when the Question Time came from Wrexham. And Peter Haynes, remember Peter Haynes?
I do.
He said, well, next door, because it came from the Glyndŵr University, and Peter Haynes said, well, we've got the oldest football club in Wales. And it was the first international ground in the world. So he wasn't really keyed up on all this sort of stuff. But Wrexham is the oldest international football club, football ground in the world. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that. I mean, is it? Wrexham's ground is the oldest... When you say the oldest international football ground...
yeah.
Do you mean it is...
They played England there and we got thrashed. I think it was 3-1. Going back in the day back.
Is the claim that it's not an international ground, but that's where the first international match took place ever?
No, it wasn't an international ground at the time.
It was an international ground?
Yeah.
So there was no Wrexham team, it was just an international ground, like Wembley. There's no Wembley team.
Well, I don't know, you got me there. But I know it's the oldest international ground. Anyway, because that's when it first started.
Well, if Peter Haynes said it, and he was the Minister for Wales, wasn't he, at the time?
No, what a Richard head he was. He had no idea, absolutely no idea.
About what?
About Wales.
Well, I mean, does he have to?
He was talking about the race course, and it was the oldest one in Wales. But it wasn't. It was the oldest one in the UK. Not the UK. Oh, I don't know whether it was UK or in the world. But
if it was the oldest one in the world, then it was also the oldest one in Wales, because Wales is in the world. So he was correct.
In a way.
Well, not in a way. He was correct. He was either right or he was wrong, and he wasn't wrong. That only leaves correct.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Well, we can deal with it. It's the oldest one in the world, right? So here's a question. Is there one older than it in Wales?
Probably not.
Probably not. If it's the oldest in the world, there can't be. Otherwise it's not the oldest in the world. The one that's older than it in Wales is the oldest in the world.
Or maybe it's the oldest international... I don't know. You're getting confused now.
Well, I'm not getting confused. If it's the oldest in the world, then it's also the oldest in Wales.
Yeah, but he wasn't saying it that way.
I don't know. I wasn't there. Were you?
Yeah, I watched him on the... what do you call it? Programme.
I think you said it was Question Time a few moments ago.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, how do you know in what way he was saying it? I mean, he said it's the oldest one in Wales.
I think that was the first place to start off the international matches.
Well, that's what you said earlier, and then you criticised Peter Hain for saying that the Wrexham ground was the oldest one in Wales, and you're saying it's not, it's the oldest one in the world, but it is.
Or maybe
the oldest
Europe,
one.
I don't know. It was such a
Well, it doesn't
long
matter
time ago,
whether it's the world or Europe or the United Kingdom, it's still the oldest one in Wales.
Yes, but he wasn't talking about that.
He was the Welsh Minister, or the Minister for Wales. Of course he was talking about... He was in Wales, he was the Minister for Wales, and he was talking about a Wales football ground. Maybe he was talking about China. Do have a good night. How do, John?
How do, Alan? I've just tuned in now, and you was going on about dogs. Yeah. Can you go on about what you was on about them now? Because I only tuned in a second ago. I didn't actually hear about it all.
Okay. Well, no.
No what?
No, I'm not going to go through it all again.
All right, fair enough. Okay. Have you ever had a dog yourself?
Personally, no.
Never in your life?
Yeah, I had one, but I've forgotten about it. So when I said no, I meant yes, but I said no by mistake. I've had 11.
Have you?
No, I've had none. Hence the answer to the question, have you ever had a dog? No.
Right. Another quick
That
question.
includes
Have you ever seen a movie called The Lady Killer?
A long, long time ago in black and white, yes.
Yeah. You know that woman who was on before, that sweet old lady? She
What
reminded
sweet
me
old
of that woman.
Oh, I see.
The woman.
Right.
Yeah, she reminded me of that woman then.
We've moved on from canines, have we? Okay.
Yeah, oh, well, yeah, because you said you've had 11, and you was like, no. But, I was just asking, have you ever seen the movie called The Lady Killer?
I think it was plural, but yes.
Yeah, it was good in that, wasn't it?
I
That
seem to
sweet old
recall it
lady.
being good, yes.
Quality, that. So, another quick question. How's your diet going?
I don't have one.
You still won't tell me your diet, will you?
I still don't have one.
You don't have a diet?
Well, I eat food.
Yeah,
so-
you eat lots of ice cream, though, don't you?
Some might describe it as lots. I describe it as not quite enough, but that's another story.
Is there an ice cream farm next year?
No.
No, do you not travel around to get an ice cream?
I don't travel around to get an ice cream because it's readily available quite close to where I am. So I don't travel around to get it. But when I travel around, I usually sample the ice cream of the area that I'm in.
So which is the best area for the ice cream then, that you've been in?
Well, it's not an area as such. There are some ice creams that I've found better than others.
Yeah. If you don't mind, whereabouts is that?
Well, as I say, it's not a geographic matter. There's some ice cream that I prefer. So far, I haven't tasted every ice cream in the world, so I'm not in a position to say which is the best in the world, but the best commercially made ice cream that I've ever had was from a firm which no longer exists, regrettably, called B. Lewis and Sons, which was in Morecambe.
Right, so it's not... Right, oh, that's good. Morecambe?
Yeah.
So you've heard of Organ Doors, haven't you?
I've heard of who?
Organ Doors.
Don't
Ice
think
cream.
so. No,
You never heard of it?
that's what I just said.
Right. I just got... Well, it's not that, because there was a thing saying about this ice cream. It was made by Beaver. Wee.
Right.
Yeah. Organ Doors, you must have heard about it, obviously.
Well, when I said no twice, I thought that would help you comprehend my position on whether I've heard it or not, but clearly not. So,
what do you think about the rocket? What got sent to space there and it blew up?
Didn't get to space, did it?
Well, it went halfway to the atmosphere, didn't it?
No, it started in the atmosphere.
Oh, did it not reach out of atmosphere? No.
I don't know. I don't think it did, but I don't know.
All right. So I thought Elon Musk was saying about it's going to be the best thing since sliced bread.
I don't suppose he did say the best thing since sliced bread, but I think he is convinced that one day it will be a viable commercial proposition. Just isn't yet.
Why would we want to land on Mars anyway?
I have no idea, because at the time we are able to, because we can, as they said to Christopher Columbus. Why? As they said
go for it.
Well, it probably won't happen within my lifetime, but almost certainly not. It seems such a long way. I don't want to spend 8 years, assuming that that is still the time it would take, sitting in a tube.
So what about if you got frozen and then went there?
Well, I don't know that I'd fancy that much. I've no idea what happens to you when you're frozen, and I'm not that confident.
What's it called? I can't remember the name for it. But
cryogenics.
Cryogenics, yeah, that's the word. Yeah,
but then they only freeze dead people. So I don't know that dead people will be. Yeah, that's what they do. They freeze dead people.
Right. Well, you're so polite for that one.
Let us assume somebody dies of the dreaded Allan lurgy, a disease I've just invented, and that kills them when we have no cure for it. At some time 100 years down the lane, we might have a cure for the dreaded Allan lurgy, in which case, if somebody dies of it and we freeze their fresh body, then in 100 years' time we can defrost it, and it'll still have the Allan dreaded lurgy, but we can cure the Allan dreaded lurgy so they can carry on with their life, and presumably
with a lollipop there and a tub of ice cream there next to you.
I wasn't saying it would be for me. I was just telling you what cryogenics was and what the purpose of it was.
Yeah. A quick one there before you dash.
I'm not going anywhere. I
was about to say before I dash off. You said you're until May. Is that your contract up?
That's where my contract's up. Yes, the end of May.
I don't think it'll be the same without you, Allan.
Well, it might not have to be without me.
Because you know what, you kept us going throughout the lockdown, and everybody, you kept me going throughout the lockdown.
Yeah, you've not gone far enough.
I was having really hard times and whatnot, and you know, if anything, I've listened to you to pull me through it all. If anything, so you know, if anything, to keep you going, I would say, wouldn't you?
Well, I don't know what you would say.
Well, that's for me to say, but not you, anybody else. But yeah, I think we should keep you on. Would you take another contract?
Yeah.
You love it, don't you, Allan?
I do.
Fantastic. I love it too. Listen,
excellent.
You take care, mate. I'm not going to take any more time.
Okay. How do Ethan?
Oh, hi, Allan.
Hi.
Yeah, I heard this crazy story earlier, basically about airplanes landing at airports.
There's not a lot crazy about airplanes landing at airports. It's kind of what they do.
Well, personally, I found it bonkers.
Hard look. How do Glenn?
Oh, well, I'll Barry. Hey, keeping right.
Oh, very well, thank you.
Well, you know, I've heard a message from President Putin about plans to attack the UK. Is that right, John?
I don't know what you said. Putin is what?
He's on about planning to attack the UK.
No, he's not.
With troops.
No, he's not.
He on my phone today as well.
Oh.
I mentioned my phone.
Right, well, phones never lie, obviously.
So, when is he going to get the courts? They want him to do war crimes, don't they? So when's this going to happen? Is it saying you're an elite country after it? They'll get him.
Well, the international court of misbehaviour, as it were, has decreed that he should be tried for war crimes, and if he goes to a country that is a signatory to that court, then he ought to be arrested. Germany have said, for example, if he lands in Germany, he will be arrested. But of course, he won't go to a country that's going to arrest him.
This man does not care who he hurts, he kills them. Does not.
I don't know. He's certainly waging a war, but when you're waging a war, you have to have a degree of disregard for what you perceive as the enemy. I don't suppose Winston Churchill lost many hours' sleep for all the Germans he was having killed.
And also, it's threatening to use nuclear weapons.
Well, he's letting the world know that he's got them in the hope that it'll frighten them away from helping Ukraine.
Do you not think, Alan, it's a worry for everyone that if he lets one nuclear weapon off, the whole planet could be killed?
No.
So what are you saying?
I'm saying no to the question you asked.
What I'm saying is threatening to lose nuclear weapons, that's what I'm saying.
Well, no, he hasn't threatened to use them. He said he has them, and he has the ability to use them. And both of those things may or may not be true.
So, what do you think's going to happen now?
I've no
in
idea.
the coming months and years?
I've no idea. It's the future.
You don't know?
How can I know it's the future?
Right, another thing, Alan, is speeding in a car a criminal offence?
Breaking the speed limit whilst driving a motor vehicle is a traffic offence and is therefore a criminal offence, but is not a criminal offence that is likely to lead to incarceration.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of guys speeding around with streets accident, and you know, why? There's no sense, Alan, is there? Why do they do it?
I've no idea.
They risk your lose license, and they speed off, and there's no chase for them. But I can't understand why they're speeding around at 6 miles an hour for a street accident, and they don't care, John. They don't care.
Well, it's basically because they're stupid. They're just stupid, Glenn.
Yeah.
Stupid people do stupid things. There's no explaining it.
What is that? I'll tell you, you know, the police round. You know, if you report a crime to 101, you don't do anything now. And why is that?
Well, it depends on what the crime is. I feel sure if you said somebody's just butchered me granny, they might intervene. But most of the time, they seem to feel that they have other things to do.
The people who've done nothing wrong in our lives, vulnerable people, have been affected. And why is that? Why should vulnerable people suffer who've done nothing wrong?
Well, they shouldn't, but the world isn't a particularly honourable place. And so some people who shouldn't suffer are made to, and some people that should get away with not doing.
See, me and my lodger, we are off right now, sir. We call him boring hard men. All the hard men the girls go for, and people like me, they don't, they're nice people. All these boring hard men with muscle and tattoos, the women go for it. Why is that on?
I've no idea. I don't know what motivates a woman into spending time with a man.
Have a good night, John.
I always do, but thank you. How do Spencer?
Yes, how you doing, Allan?
Doing very well, thank you.
Good, man. How's your day been?
Same as any other.
Good. I watched a great film before. It's called 13 Hours on Netflix. Oh, mate, it was mint.
It was what?
It was mint.
Mint?
Yeah.
It's a flavour.
It's an expression for good.
Oh, right. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's cool. Right, well, that was about it, mate. I just thought I'd ring in for a quick chat.
Well, it was quick and enlightening. I'll do Audrey.
Oh, hi, Alan.
Me.
Hi. I wonder if you or any of your listeners can help me with finding a lost bank account from a deceased relative. I've tried Sorry?
There is a process to go through, but are you, when you say a deceased relative, first of all, are you the executor of that person's will?
Yes, I am.
You are?
Yes. All that sorted.
Well, I didn't know that, but now I do.
Yeah.
And do you know what bank it was held with?
As far as I'm aware, it's HSBC.
Simple yes would have covered it.
Yeah, but previously wasn't that Midland. The situation is, the person I spoke to, the relative, was suffering from vascular dementia, and when I asked, sometimes it was HSBC and sometimes it was Midland, so I think it was from quite a while ago.
Well, there is a process. I don't know how successful it is, but there is a simple process by which you can find an account. It's not easy, and they don't always manage to locate them, but do you have access to the internet?
Yes.
Well, surprisingly, it's very easy. There's a website called My Lost Account, all one word, mylostaccount.
I've done it, Alan.
And what was the outcome?
Just, nothing found. I went into the bank and they did a search. I emailed Martin Lewis, didn't get a reply, and I even asked a solicitor whether they could help, because I'm sure. Well, I'll give you some more details. It's my late husband's, and he always used to tell me he was always very keen on saving for retirement, and putting the money away to buy a property abroad eventually. Actually, he didn't get to retirement. It's a few years since he passed away. But, if I wanted anything house doing or anything, oh no, I'm not touching our retirement fund. And the only other person he spoke to was my brother-in-law. And he said there's a substantial amount of money. And of course, it just goes to prove you should speak to your partner's husbands about savings, because when they pass away, you're at a loss.
Yeah, it is very difficult, and it depends how old the account is. But it sounds like your husband was saying, "We've got this account. I have this account." What we need to know, what might help, is if you know when the last transaction was.
Oh, crumbs.
Because if you're talking about the account being previously a Midland bank account, well, the Midland bank account was taken over by HSBC donkeys years ago, so that means that no transaction has taken place in all that time. So I'm not questioning your late husband by any means, but if he has an account, then it's clearly an account that he's not been putting money into for a long time.
That must be, he had good days and bad days. That must have been on a bad day when, of course, people with dementia quite often go back, don't they, for years and years. So obviously he was confused and said Midland. So it had to be in the time we were married. You're right there, it must have been the HSBC.
And if it was HSBC, then even then it's not had a transaction in recent years. You say, how long was your late husband suffering, incapacitated by Alzheimer's?
From 2010 for 4 years, and then he passed away 2014.
Right.
Yeah.
So you could go back to 2008, which is a long time ago, but if there was any transaction, the bank would still, I would hope, aware of it, but they've obviously searched to no avail. It's possible that the money has been used.
Or it wasn't with HSBC, whether it was something online or some other savings account, I really don't know. He did have a couple of investments accounts, which I found one online, but there was just there was a small amount, about 3,000 in there. Well, I don't suppose there's any. Alan, what's the time limit when somebody's passed away? And if you've not found the money, then it goes to the Crown, I believe.
Well, yes, it does. If there is money in a bank account and it's dormant, it passes to the Crown. However, the Crown allows it. Then the Crown then owns it, and you have no claim on it. Full stop.
No.
However, goodwill says that if it can be established that you are the rightful owner, either by descent or you are the rightful owner, the Crown will release the money to you.
Oh, really?
Plus interest. Yes. So the Crown don't take it and say, you're not having this back, it's ours now. That isn't the attitude. They do say it now. I think it goes into the... I'm almost certain it goes into the state of the Duke of Lancaster, which is the monarch.
Oh, really?
But that's the Crown. So it goes to the Crown. But if it can be shown that you are a legitimate claimant of that sum, then the Crown will release it. So it isn't gone forever.
No. Do you know the time scale? Isn't there a certain time scale of, if you can't find it like 10, 15 years, then tough?
I don't think there is a time scale. As I say, the monies that are... first of all, when a bank account is dormant, the bank that holds it has an obligation to try to track down the owner, the rightful owner of the account. And there are a number of processes that they have to do, and most of the banks do even more, and try to trace the owner. When all that fails, and I don't know what the time scale of that is, but when all that fails, the money is then passed, if you will, to the state, to the Crown. But if somebody comes along at a later date and says, oi, that's mine because my great-great-granddad left it to me, and here's the evidence, then the Crown will release it. And the problem is that if there was any evidence, the bank would have located it. I mean, I'm not a fan of banks. I tend to collect them in the same bucket as insurance companies and crooks. But they are generally honourable in this kind of thing because their reputation is dependent upon it. But so there is a process. But once that process has been exhausted, basically the money, as you say, goes to the Crown. But if somebody can come along and say, oi, that was my money, then providing that can be shown to be the case, they will release it.
What if this money had been put into an account and it was all done online and probably only in my late husband's name?
Well, the issue isn't the process, the issue is where is it? So the fact that a person banks online doesn't matter providing it's a
Right.
British bank. Of course, foreign banks,
Right.
we have no way of dealing with that. That's the foreign nations have the power of that. But you can, a single online search to trace long bank accounts, building account, national savings, and all the rest of it. Yeah, you can trace those. Have you applied to the premium bonds? Did he have any of those?
Not that I'm aware of. I mean,
Well, you're
everything we did everything jointly. Household accounts, wages into the, current account, shopping, everything we did jointly. Apart from this is the only thing that I didn't, that he didn't give me the details. There you go, saving for retirement, but sadly he never made it.
No. Well, as I say, the banks, if they have a dormant account, they go through a process of trying to locate the owner of that account, and if they fail, then after a time it's dormant and dead. Rather than have the bank keep the money, which would be invidious, they have to pass it to the government. So they do. And if you can show, and it depends how much evidence you've got.
I mean, I couldn't go walking. I mean, I've only tried HSBC. I mean, can I walk into the Halifax and ask them to do a search, or the NatWest, or any other bank?
You could do all of that, but there is a single process where all of the accounts can be checked, all banks.
Oh, right.
And this is the online service I was telling you about
And that's
before.
my lost account. That's my lost account, yeah. Okay.
So if you go to
wow.
that, I'm just looking at one of the websites now. I'll just read this out to you. Did you know that there are over 150 million bank and building society accounts in the UK? And you simply set up a profile using a valid email address and password, verify those, and then complete the search form. When the results of the search are ready, you'll receive an email alert, and when you log in, you'll receive a letter. So my lost account is the thing. It covers 30 banks and all 43 building societies, and the full range of national savings and investment products. So if you go on to my lost account and then follow the process through, fill in the form with all the detail that you have, however much that is, send it off, they will do the search for you.
Right, I did do it quite a few years ago, but I think I'll try again.
Well, can't do any harm, can it? It's free.
No, it can't.
Good luck with it.
Okay, thanks for your help, Alan.
My
Thanks
pleasure.
very much.
Have a good night. 0800 218 2255. Don't go away. We're going to talk to Michael. We're going to talk to Andrew and to you on that number. We're also going to listen to Robert Parr. Very good. 0800 218 2255. If you're going to join us, that's good. You're more than welcome. It's, 1:45. We're here till 1, so there's bags of time. I'll do Michael.
You all right, Alan?
Very well, thank you.
I'd just like to start off. I think the fella before, you were talking about ice cream.
Aye.
I think we were talking about a company called Häagen-Dazs.
All right.
Which obviously, I don't know whether you've heard of them with that name. With the name he was saying, it really didn't sound anything like the actual company.
No.
So.
Well, I have heard of Häagen-Dazs, yes.
So, I mean, I don't know what he was on about with was it beaver urine or something, using that? The ice cream?
Well, to each their own.
I mean, I doubt. I think to make ice cream, I'm pretty sure you need milk. So I don't know how you'd use beaver urine to make that.
You could have, they have ice cream with flavours and colours, and could have a green ice cream, couldn't you?
Oh yeah, I hadn't thought of that actually. That'd be quite a weird food colouring though. I don't see there's no shortage of, like, when you think of all the additives that you get from America.
Yeah.
There's no things.
I wonder how they get it. I mean, do they have them in cages with trays?
Little signs that say urinate here, and it's into like a little cup that they then.
Then again, without wanting to put too fine a point on it, you might just have been taking the piss. I thank you. Anyway,
on a little note though of ice cream, fun fact. Obviously, most people, some people will know it, some people won't. One of our best prime ministers, Maggie T, or Margaret Thatcher, as some people call her, obviously was quite involved in the creation of sort of soft serve ice cream with the chemistry around it. And I mean, on the subject of Maggie T, obviously you were talking about the strikes before and the doctor strikes, and I think it's fair to say from a perspective that you could really do with someone like Margaret Thatcher at the minute, that's willing to sort of turn around, as the government has finally done, and sort of say, look, you want a pay rise, but we're not giving you 35%, so come to the table with a reasonable offer, or go away, basically. We all know they can't have 35% because they're already, most doctors, even junior doctors, they're on more than the average person earns by £10,000 a year.
Well, they may well be on more than the average person, but they do a job that is a bit more important than the average job, wouldn't you say?
Well, I mean, a part of me would disagree with you. I mean, the average wage obviously is spread across a lot of things, but you've got people like electricians, people like plumbers, people who work in manufacturing. Well, the US is obviously runs a private healthcare system. So the only way you look.
So all you've done is change the name of the country. What you haven't done is address the question: how do you stop doctors leaving our health service to go and work for other countries' health services for an awful lot more money than we give them? How do we stop them doing that?
Well, you have to give them the more money, don't you?
Oh, right. And given that in their view, I've not done the sums and don't care, in their view, they say that the pay rises they've had for the past 7 years have all been less than inflation. So, in effect, they've been able to buy less than the money. How do Andrew?
As a method.
How do Tony?
Hi, Alan, you okay?
I'm very well, thank you.
Going back to the last caller, doctors going abroad for more money. Why are we not NHS dentists anymore?
Because they can't make any money.
Weren't they making over 100 grand a year?
Well,
2 grand a week, maybe.
Well, it depends who you're talking. It depends who you. It depends who you're talking about. The dentists, they may be lying through their teeth. I've no idea, but the dentists say they cannot make money operating as a national health dentist because the money they get paid is decreed by the NHS, and it isn't enough to cover all the services that they are required to offer.
Okay. Well, I don't think I've seen a poor dentist, but that's by the by.
Okay.
But it's £200 to pull a tooth, takes 5 minutes. How is that not making enough money?
Well, the equipment they have to have in order to facilitate that, because you don't just walk in and say, can I have this out? You walk in and they use their expertise to decide what is the correct process. They will probably x-ray it, first of all, before they start dragging your teeth out. That costs money. The equipment that they have to do it costs money. The equipment they have, the staff they have, the premises they have, all cost money. And your tooth being dragged out has to pay its contribution towards those costs. Now, I don't know the figures, but if the National Health Service says we will give the dentist 50 quid, and the dentist says, well, I'll lose money on that, and the NHS says, don't give us stuff, the dentist says, well, I'm not doing it for that anymore, so get lost. I'll go private, and people will have to pay, or their teeth will have to fall out.
Well, they're going to walk around in agony and pain.
Well, that's not the dentist's problem. The dentist's problem is how to make a living. The National Health Service, the government, is responsible for the decisions about how much a dentist will be paid per procedure.
So, how is it they can do it in Turkey? Say your full set, top and bottom out for 3,000, it cost you 25,000 over here.
Well, the amount, I don't know how much it is there or here, but the amount of money that a person earns in Turkey is probably considerably less than they earn here. But of course, they've got to live in Turkey where the living costs are lower than here.
There's a lot of people taking holidays from here to go to Turkey now to do all the dentistry.
Yes, there are. And
so
that's
why don't
because
the Turks come over here? set their own practices up, put these lot out of business.
Because if they come over here, they won't be able to do it for the low price that they do it over there, because it only seems low because they're living in a different country. The cost of living in Turkey is probably considerably less than the cost of living in the United Kingdom. We are a very expensive country to live in.
So you've just not contradicted yourself. You said
That is absolutely correct. I have not contradicted myself.
No, or you're saying, I'll go over to Australia to earn more money.
Yes, because they can earn
a lot more than here.
Yes, but they earn a lot more money because in that country the system pays them more money. In our country the system doesn't.
But what they get paid more, they're going to spend more on the cost of living.
Well, that may be so, but they still prefer it. I mean, the answer... The issue isn't are they stupid to do it? The issue is how do you stop them from doing it and leaving the National Health Service without the number of people it requires? It doesn't matter if they're making the most stupid decision they've ever made by choosing to go to Australia or New Zealand or America or... What an idiot! But we don't care. What we care about is how do we get them to stay here? Now, I have to tell you, I used to work with somebody whose partner was a dentist, and that dentist was approached by a foreign country and offered ludicrous money compared to what the dentist made here, and took it and went to live in the foreign land, and is now very, very happy, living an extremely comfortable life in a foreign place. And our dental service is devoid one very expert dentist.
So how they manage in Australia and the likes to pay for them dentists on the NHS, is it? Or private?
I don't know. I'm not Australian. I don't live in Australia. I know that my sister tells me that it costs a bloody fortune to go and get treatment over there. So they have to pay a phenomenal amount, she says. And fine. She just says that's the cost of doing it.
So going back to the plumber and the urinal workman, they both did 5 years at college, university, and all that.
Well, I don't think the plumber does. I don't think I mean, I may be wrong, but I don't think the plumber does do 5 years at university.
They did. Well, not university, so college or an apprenticeship.
Well, when you say university, me being the stupid editor that I am, think you mean university.
No,
but you don't.
I made a mistake. I meant college.
You didn't make a mistake. You made a stupid argument, and you now know that you look like a buffoon.
Cheers,
Alan. You're used to that. Have a good night. How do Andrew?
Oh, sorry about that.
Right.
About Australasia, sort of the antipodes, so to speak. You are right, but we do pick our finest from Australia. Obviously, Desert Commander is 4 modules, you see. If you want water, how would you get water on? Can you explain that to me?
I don't know how they get water. All I know about water is I turn the tap and it comes out. I don't know more than that.
Rubbish. It's what's called a delta. You see, when you have what's called the Mississippi Delta, you have a narrow called the Yazoo. All you need is a knife and a bit of gall. If you're in the desert, you don't go for the arrow. You go for that arrow blunt. You see, where stream waters, like if it was Wadi, Southeast Arabia, the Wadi effect covers the sickles. And although, yes, you're right, we import from Australasia greatness. Right? We have to do this. 16 years old, not me, the pilots, right? Just like Lewis Collins was an airborne, 10th airborne. Where's his taxi? Right? So, that's what we are. Pilots, automobiles. I'm just I'm finding my stuff, how you see, I've got the Michael Schumacher human ones, you see. Yeah, the sharpening with what's called osmium, you see. But what I understand, if that's right, we're important, what are we exporting to other people? And down the bottom, there's British Petroleum. Nothing British about big, rich people. And you know, like you say, you're plumbing, you'd be best getting on it yourself. But, you know, you can't explain... Sorry, thank you. About the lady before, you see, with the Midland Bank, it had the better account. And because of that, it had I think it was the TNT were involved, you see. If you get involved, the Midland becomes HSBC. It was one of the easiest to screw was as a fraud officer and as security. What you used to do with that divider, all you had to do was super glue it, kick it off and steal people's like 80 whatever quid. The Midland had the fact there, money for the effect, you won't pay it, so we've made money on it. But I think it was called the Christmas breakfast, Sir Allan. I call you Sir Allan because I think you're fantastic, and I think that woman deserves a great chance. It was called, it's a griffin before the phoenix, and it was called the Vectra. Obviously, boxer, she's a knocker, and stuff like that, But listen, sweetheart, I hope you get your... I'm sorry, one more thing, Allan. It was what last week? Hill 16 died. I didn't get it to listen. I was broken out. I just went, oh, hey. You see, I remember great challenges. Like, I remember Ben never spinning a 40-1. I had to win it. I said, that's Scotland. Can't remember, you see. Hill 16. See, I'm sorry. Your loss is my loss. I love me horses. There was a horse at 879 days off the set. It was called Coonawarra. Roll a joint, he's got it national. God bless Free Scotland. Hey, me surrender, man. But you see, there was this horse off the track for nearly 900 days called Coonawarra, and it fell at the second last. And it's cannonball, man. And I was like, I was just watching it, and it just went down like a bag of proverbial. I remember once, 10 years ago or so, I was walking behind two fine lady cops on Challenger horses, you see. And on the left-hand side, this horse had an intrepid hand. Some monsters out there, they don't need fences or gates, they just tie horses together, man. And I had suffered an injury, and it was brave, and it'd been tortured, and it'd come back, man. I just walked behind it, I thought, what a brave horse. I'm sorry. God bless you, Allan. Let's go.
0800 218 2255 to join us. We're here till 1 o'clock, which is less than an hour away, and we're more than happy to share our time with you because we're kind and gentle and delicate. As you, well, I am. I can't speak for you. How do Max?
Hello there, Allan.
Hello.
Hello. I'd like to speak to you about a previous caller. He called Michael, I think it was. He sounded like a tart. He was talking about doctor's pay.
Have a good night. 0800 218 2255. If you want to join us, you can. A tart round here is a pastry case with some flavouring in it. It's not a derogatory term. I'll do Martin.
Good evening, Allan.
Isn't it?
Good evening, Allan.
Good evening.
I'd like to talk about what was brought up earlier regarding dogs and dog days and etc.
Okay.
Right. We did a cruise ship and we ended up in Gibraltar for a day. And I was sat in a cafe having a coffee and an ice cream. And I watched the guy with the dog, and he took poo on the pavement. And he cleaned the poo up and sprayed. And I went over to talk to him, and what he said was that every dog on the island was chipped. And if there was any sign of dog poo or dog urine, they had people going around testing, and the people was fined that owned the dog. And I thought that was brilliant.
How, if they found the dog feces, how did the chip in the dog connect the dog to that feces? I know how it connects the dog to the owner, because the chip will be registered, but I got to tell you, I'm not an expert, but one pile of dog crap looks much the same as another to me.
Oh, it does to me, but I presume.
So how do they they see the dog poo and they think, oh, there's some dog poo. That dog's chipped. Where's is it? It's gone. Oh, well, we need to find out which dog dropped this so we can look at the chip and see how that went. So how do they do that? How do they locate, or how do they connect the crap to the dog?
I'm presuming the DNA of the dog was put in the dog chip.
Right. And so when they find, so what you're saying is when they find some dog crap, they take a spoonful and they go away and they test it for DNA, and then when they've got the DNA, they then look which chip is registered to that DNA. Is that what you're telling me?
I presume so, because, I mean, this was only something that I witnessed, and I couldn't believe it. I'd never seen it before, that everybody that seemed to have a dog seemed to have a belt with an holder, with I'm presuming, antibiotic spray, and every time it poos...
Antibiotic spray?
Well, I only witnessed this once.
Mm.
Yes, and the dog pooed, and the guy cleaned it up and sprayed the area. And when I spoke to him, he
it's
said...
It's probably more antiseptic than antibiotic, wouldn't you have thought?
I'm not a chemist, I wouldn't know that.
No, indeed you're not, but you chose to say a word. Anyway, no matter. So they spray it with something.
But I was quite impressed, to be quite honest with you.
In Paris, they have motorbikes that go round, and they drive slowly on the pavement. They see a pile of dog poo, they stop, and then they take this like elephant's trunk, and they plop it over the poo, and then they press a button, and a vacuum sucks the poo up into a big box at the back, and then it sprays the circle where the poo was, and he puts the thing back in and drives off.
Great. That sounds fantastic.
That sounds fantastic.
But surely it's down to the owner. And if you have this if this is in Gibraltar, and they're doing this in Gibraltar, which is down to the owner, where there is no trace of dog poo or dog wee, then surely it's quite easily to establish anywhere else, especially within this country.
Well, it might be that the people of Gibraltar give us stuff about their area, and the people of the United Kingdom are less concerned.
Well, yeah, that could be, but if it's easy to impose into such a small island, then surely you can, do that somewhere else.
But it's usually the other way around. It's usually easier to control a small thing rather than a large thing.
But surely, if you're going to purchase a dog, then surely part of the purchase of a dog, as in if you buy a car, it needs to be serviced. And basically, if you buy a dog, then another issue is that you need to have it chipped, you need to have it DNA, and you need to be responsible for that dog.
Yes, and all of that may be a good idea, but we still come back to, are you suggesting that when the authorities finds a pile of dog poo, they obviously don't know which dog did it. So are you suggesting that they take a spoonful and go away and do the very expensive process of assessing the DNA of the animal that dropped it, then going to the computer and finding out which animal that DNA applies to, and then finding out who the owner of that animal is, and then going to see the owner and do what?
They should ban them from having a dog here.
Right. All right. Okay. Sounds quite an expensive process.
Also, another question on dog leads. There's lots of dog leads out there that are also like surveyors' tape measures. They go for 30, 40 metres, some of these. How can you be in control of a dog? But
you can't.
It can, exactly. I agree with you.
Well, that's the stupidity of the legislation. So the legislation says the dog must be on a lead. Well, it is.
Yes, but in my only personal interpretation is that a dog that is on the pavement should be on a lead that is 1.5 metres. So it cannot be able...
There is a lot of sense in that, but that's not what the legislation says, so they'd have to change it. They'd have to regulate how long a lead could be.
Also, on a park, there should not be dogs allowed on a lead less than 3 metres in a park with children.
They shouldn't allow dogs in the park anyway.
Totally agree with you. Totally agree with you.
They did that in Burnley. The dog owners of Burnley went crackers, but then dog owners are all bloody crackers anyway. Have a good night. How do Tom?
Hello, pal. You all right? I'm a bit sick of all this dog talk. It's a bit boring, isn't it?
I don't know. We'll find out how boring you are. Off you go.
Oh. Yeah, well, it's like you know, cutting people off and everything. Anyway, I'd just like to talk about, I want to ask you firstly, why he cut off the previous man who was trying to talk about that
I don't know.
Fella.
Same reason I'm cutting you off. Because you're a clown. 0800 218 2255. Ring if you're stupid even. We don't mind. I'll do Jacqueline.
Hello. You talk about dog poo and everything else. You know, of an evening, people pour out of the clubs and pubs and go up against doorways and windows and whatever. Yes? Do wee-wees everywhere. You know what they do in Rexham? If you're caught doing that, they send for a water bowser, and then that comes, and then the bloke who's done wee-wees everywhere, he has to scrub it down.
Right.
They have hot water and soap and things, and they have and a brush, and they have to scrub down what they've done in the street.
Who is it that summons this water bowser?
The police. When the police catch you weeing where you're not supposed to be weeing, they call for the water bowser and brushes and whatever, and then they have to scrub down their wee all over the pavement and push it into the gutter.
Right.
That's not bad, is it?
Bad, good. It seems an extravagant use of police time when people are getting burgled and being ignored, but yeah.
Yeah, but at least they are cleaning the streets up, aren't they?
They are indeed cleaning up the streets, which I'm sure is part of their role. I think when you swear to serve Her Majesty, you say, I will catch murderers, I will prevent burglars, I will catch people who assault, and I'll also make people who piss in the street clean it up.
Yep, certain people are go to certain duties, and if they're weeing in the street, then they have to clean it off. And they possibly might think again the next time they do it.
Well, indeed they might, but somebody might say,
to court and
all of that,
they have to go to court and all.
But how many people have their burglaries ignored whilst a police officer is designated to make sure a drunk cleans up his wee?
It's a different type of police force, isn't it?
I don't know. It's not a police force. There is no different.
Certain police.
There is no. I'm sorry, Jacqueline. There is no different type of police force. It's either the police force or it isn't.
Well, no, because you have road cops.
Part of the same police
the
force.
Roads. Pardon?
That's the same police force.
Yeah, but they do go along and do things in the road.
Yes, you have traffic cops who specialise in traffic matters. Correct.
Yes.
You have detectives who specialise in inquiries and things, trying to solve crimes. You have street cops, of which there are far too few. And one wonders whether it is a good use of their time in the dead of night, as people are being burgled and raped and murdered, to be standing there watching a bloke clean up his own pee, that's all. Just seems an extravagant use.
Well, you see, on these programmes, when they catch these people picking up somebody's doorway or whatever, and they just take them in and fine them or whatever. Anyway, good night then. Bye-bye.
Good night. Fantastic. How do Arthur?
Hello, sir. Hello, Alan.
Hello.
Going back to something that a couple of gentlemen talked about recently, the so-called mantis. I've come across the actual description of it. It's cast as a carnivorous insect resembling a grasshopper. It does eat meat, and it rests with its first pair of legs raised up into the air.
What does it eat?
Meat.
It does eat meat.
Specify what sort. It does eat meat.
It does eat
meat. English
well, it probably eats things like greenfly and little larva and that sort of thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I've picked it up in my dictionary, the Collins English dictionary. Yeah.
Well, the gentleman
specifies it does eat meat.
Well, I don't suppose it has a chop, but the gentleman that was talking about mantis wasn't on about the creature. He was on about a machine, a fairly recently made machine, a recently invented machine, you might say, that can type. When you type, it will make braille rather than print. But it'll do both.
Well, it's actually a mantis. It's actually a carnivorous insect.
Yes, that's the creature, but that's the creature. But he wasn't talking about that. He was talking about a machine called a mantis, which has got nothing to do with looking like a grasshopper or living in a tree or a bush. It was.
Okay, sir.
It was a machine, but thank you for your assistance. Thank you. 0800 218 2255. If you want to join us, that's good. The Women's Institute is facing a backlash from many of their members for allowing transgender women into the organisation. Now, I've spent many a pleasant evening in the company of the WI when I've gone out doing talks and things years ago. And as the Prime Minister discovered not very long ago, they've got teeth. They give him a really hard time. I think it was Blair, but they gave him a really hard time when he turned up at their AGM. They've got teeth, and they've also got something very good that you can do with teeth, and that is they've got the recipe for the finest lemon drizzle cake in the world. Going to talk to Simon, going to talk to Dave, going to talk to you on 0800 218 2255. But here's my signature tune, Freddie Mercury, The Great Pretender. gives it some well eat, doesn't he? You can't criticise the lad for not putting the effort in, can you? By heck, he does his best. And grand it is. 0800 218 2255. 20, just after 25 past midnight. We're here till 1. If you want to join us, that's the number. How do Simon?
Hello, Alan. Now, I just want to talk about, you've been talking about having a pee, you know, and somebody once told me, somebody who knows the score, if you go to town hall, you can have a wee-wee and they can't do anything about it.
When you say you can have a wee-wee and they can't do anything, you just pee on the town hall door, is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that, yeah.
I think you'd probably find that there'll be some piece of legislation that they could pursue you under.
You might be right, but I was told by somebody who actually knew it, you know.
Well, people never tell you things that they don't know. They always claim to know them when they tell you.
I'm talking about down at the underworld level.
The underworld level.
Yeah,
gangsters.
Yeah.
I suppose when they're considering the matters of import, that the gangsters are probably less concerned about whittling on the town hall door than organising their nefarious gangsterous affairs. He was a good lad, but he associated with the gangsters so they could...
I mean, my sister used to go out with one of the Grey twins, and you're a great lad.
Well, as long as she's happy, or was happy, then good luck to her.
No, she's always been miserable, but...
yeah. Well, she has got you for a brother, hasn't she? So, you know, you can't blame her for that. But do have a good night. How do Dave?
Hello, Alan. You all right, pal?
Hmm?
Yeah, so I want to talk about music. So I want to start off. What is your favourite all-time song?
I don't have one. Good night. How do Ted?
Well, it's on, kids. You know that rocket, the Elon Musk rockets that went up? Well,
yeah.
Apparently, well, this is true. They're going to have 100 people on board that rocket. Now, in
that's
the
plan.
Yeah,
that's the plan.
Yeah, 100 spacemen. Now,
well, I think there'll be Earth people rather than spacemen, but yes, the plan is to be able to carry 100 passengers. Yeah.
And these probes that we're sending out into outer space to other galaxies to see if there's planets like this one, maybe that rocket, like it's getting ready for it, like, you know.
Well, that's not the declared position, and we only have so far one probe that's left our galaxy and gone into the next galaxy. We only have one so far, and that didn't have anyone on it. Alan?
There's two. There's Voyager 1 and
I'm prepared to agree with you that there's two. I don't mind if there's 2 or 20, but I suspect neither of them has 100 passenger seats available.
Well, Voyager 1 is interstellar with Voyager 2.
Right.
And I think they're preparing when it comes, when we find a planet with inhabitable. That's what they're preparing for.
Well,
like the Vikings, like Christopher Columbus, we are explorers, aren't we, of the Earth? Now it's the space now, isn't it?
I don't really know.
To find new worlds and that, innit? And here's new worlds.
That's what Christopher Columbus didn't set out to find new worlds. Apparently, he set out to prove that you didn't fall off the end when you reached the horizon. That's what he set out, and it just so happens whilst he was there, he discovered what are described as new worlds.
Well, you know, Uranus and Neptune, it's the same colour as the Earth.
I didn't know that.
From the sun. Neptune and Uranus is 7 and 8 from the sun. And they've got clouds on them, Neptune and Uranus. So why go really out to another galaxy, like? And it's there in
I
our
believe.
galaxy?
I mean, I don't know. It's not really my area of expertise. I don't have an area of expertise, but apparently that the clouds that they have are not clouds, water vapor clouds like we have. They're one of them. It's sulfuric acid, which quite frankly, we're not aware of any creatures that can live in that.
Well, one of them's water, and one of them's water. Either Uranus or Neptune. One of them water.
All right. Okay. Well, you inform me yet further.
Thanks, Alan, kids. All the best, kids. Thank you.
Bless you. Have a good night. I'll do Daniel.
Hello, Alan. How are you doing?
Quite well, thank you.
Good. I just wanted to speak to you because at the moment, myself and my partner, along with several other volunteers, along the route from Chorley Hospital to Royal Preston Hospital, as the Rosemere Cancer Charity Walk in the Dark is happening.
Right.
To raise money for Rosemere Charity. So we're marshals on the route to help them raise money, basically. So I think there's about 400 walkers that are doing it.
Good Lord.
So we're trying to encourage them on. So we're near enough at the end point on Shower Green Lane in Preston. So if you see any stragglers between Chorley and Preston, that might be the reason, because there's a big walk taking place to walk in the dark.
And how much is it hoped it will raise?
Well, I think I don't have the exact figure to hand, but they're hoping to raise quite a bit, and they've done it for quite a number of years.
And what has it raised on previous years?
It's raised, in all fairness, like close to £1 million in previous years.
Wow, it's not bad.
So it's a good fundraiser. It's one of the main events of the year that we do.
Right, brilliant.
So we're, as I say, we're on the turning circle. And many years ago, I interviewed you on hospital radio, Alan.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm still volunteering at the hospital for my sins.
Good on you. And how's the radio station doing?
Oh, it's doing very well at the minute, thank you. Very well. Still going from strength to strength, which is good. So. Yeah.
And how is it funded, the hospital radio? Because sometimes the hospitals...
Yeah, we have to get a lot of fundraising, raffles and that kind of thing, really, to fundraise. We don't get much help through the trust. So.
No.
But the trust support us as much as they can. So, the trust are great supports to us. We just have to do a lot of the fundraising and sponsorship and that kind of thing.
And how does it broadcast? Do they have? It used to be that at the side of the bed there was a set of earphones, and if you put them on, that was all right.
Yeah, it's on the TV set, which is very similar, and it's a set of headphones that you plug into the TV set. The radio is free, the TV you've got to pay for. And you can also listen to it online on Preston Hospital Radio online as well.
All right. So somebody could listen now if they wanted.
Yeah, so we've got our own website that they can listen to 24 hours a day.
Brilliant. How very good.
Yeah.
Well, I might be out of work soon, so you never know.
You can come and help us at Hospital Radio, Alan.
Indeed. Excellent. Well, I hope the walkers raise as much money as is humanly possible. Have a good night, Daniel. Cheers, mate. 0800 218 2255. I'll do Michael.
Yeah,
very well, thank you.
No, we spoke before about doctors, and I've had some ideas about sort of how to solve the issue. Obviously, someone said before about Elon Musk and SpaceX. And I think since we left the EU, obviously it's opened up regulatory changes that we can sort of go through. So I think one of the things that we could sort of do is try and you talk about a robot in the future, to try and get robot doctors, maybe not to sort of take on the full bulk of the work, but to try and ease some of the strain, and to use some of the technology that we have now that we didn't used to have, to try and move sort of as much work from the doctors as we can, to make the job easier for them.
Well, there's certainly, I don't know if it makes it easier, but certainly we already have various things that didn't exist previously that assist them. The great problem is that every time we invent another piece of equipment, we also discover a new treatment for another disease. And that new treatment means that people stay alive instead of dying. So that costs the NHS money.
I know it's been said a long time. I know my father said it to me many times, and he still does. That essentially the NHS is a victim of its own success, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes, without a doubt.
You've got people living longer. Obviously, that's putting a strain on everyone. The NHS more than anything, I think it's fair to say. So people are making it further and further, and of course, the further you get, the more sort of complex diseases you end up with. The likes of Alzheimer's obviously was very rare years ago, but now more and more people are living longer. Obviously, it develops in everyone eventually, pretty much. Your brain is only able to operate for so long. Many people have said humans aren't meant to live as long as we do.
Well, we didn't live as long as we do on average many years ago. It's difficult to quantify the figures because, of course, world wars account for an awful lot of people being dead.
Yeah.
But yes, it's certainly the case that we are, in essence, as a collective, living longer, and that means we need the hospital services longer.
Yes, I mean,
more of us need them, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, hospital waiting times have been rising for quite a long time now. COVID pretty much supercharged that. I think the biggest thing now that sort of you could say is weighing on doctors is trying to clear the backlog of that, because the level of service that's trying to be offered at the minute is insane compared to what it was pre-COVID, even at the worst levels. It's not even. It was the winter peaks where the NHS really struggled. But at the minute, it's all year. It basically comes from the delays from COVID, from pushing back all those operations, and obviously we'll never really be able to know the true cost of that in terms of lives, because we'll never be able to screen all those people that should have been screened.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right that we cannot know how many people didn't die who should have done, and how many people are on a waiting list where previously they would have been serviced quite quickly. We don't know. It's impossible. No. We just know that the waiting list has grown substantially because the hospital service was inundated by a particular disease for a particular time, and that led to many delays.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that you can say is obviously COVID led to sort of external screenings, so telephone screenings with GPs, which obviously is quite a good innovation, really, because it means for someone like me who works a lot, I can't necessarily get an appointment when it suits me, because unfortunately most doctors aren't open at the right times. Most of them close at 5-6 o'clock. I'm still in work. That's no good for me. But I can quite easily ring up during the day or get an appointment during the day, and you can ring me during work. I can speak to them while I'm working. So it's a real sort of step forward. Obviously now you get online consultations. The knowledge is better. I think things like artificial intelligence, so a better sort of, you can go on and Google your symptoms online, but no one should really do that because the results aren't going to be very good. Most of the time it tells you that you're dying when you aren't. But if you use the wealth of data that the NHS has on symptoms and outcomes and diseases and causes, allowing people to basically go online to a website and input their symptoms, and then it'll give the doctor a lot sort of less to screen them for, which obviously reduces the time that the doctor's got to spend with them. Well, you can see more people.
I mean, that sounds like a good idea, but of course we don't understand our symptoms, really. I mean, you go to the doctor and the doctor will say, have you got a pain? How often? Oh, it comes and goes. Well, try putting that in a bloody computer, see what that says.
Well, I mean,
it's, the interface with a doctor isn't just science. there's an awful lot of teasing the information out of people. Yeah,
yes. Which would be hard to encourage, isn't it? But I mean, there's no one solution, unfortunately. It'd be lovely to just sort of say we're gonna genetically clone 50,000 doctors and we'll be fine. But of course, a lot of the NHS sort of backlogs and issues with staff is things like, well, not to put them lower than everyone else, but it's a lot of sort of what you might call bottom line positions, isn't it? I think obviously the level of between doctors and nurses is sort of quite substantial in terms of training and knowledge, but it's we've got a lot bigger shortage of nurses who can actually sort of look after people and check in on people than we have doctors. And even just like what I'd probably say like backstage sort of roles with like consultation and like caretaking inside the hospitals we're struggling with. It's obviously it's all affecting services. But when you're looking at sort of you're short of almost 250,000 people in the NHS is the latest estimate. How real that is, we can't know. You've got a very big problem.
It's an enormous problem, and there isn't a ready-made solution sitting on a shelf somewhere. And even if, and I have some sympathy with consecutive governments, even if they put an awful lot more money into the health service, it wouldn't necessarily make it better. It's weird, but the health service is a burner of money, without a doubt.
I mean, we've seen even obviously there's talks of like the austerity of the past 10 years, and the coalition was sort of the one that everyone looks at. But of course, what people forget is that actually the amount of money the NHS received every year, even taking account for inflation, rose over the last 10 years. All the money they had during COVID, they managed to spend, and that funding hasn't really gone away. Obviously, they're now trying to clear the backlog, but they're spending every penny they get.
But
no matter how much money you give them,
the spending on COVID is a very, very good example of how throwing money at the health problem isn't a simple solution. It doesn't necessarily get a solution. We know, and some people are quite cross about it, we know that billions of pounds were wasted, just irretrievably gone. And there's no way of getting that back. You know, you can find out who got it, but what are you going to do? Sue them for it? Well, what are you going to do? You're going to stay here and wait for that? The money has gone. And there's no benefit from it. But there was benefit... Sounds a contradiction. There was benefit from the spending, but not every penny of the money was spent wisely. And it's, if you like, it's an explosion of what happens every day in the National Health Service. I don't know whether you've been in a hospital recently, but if you go into a hospital, right, well, you don't have to look hard to find places where there seems to be there seems to be nothing happening, and yet the money is there being spent. You know, you see things going on and think, well, that's a waste.
But I mean, unfortunately, it is very much a case of you can't just throw money at the problem. If you give someone twice as much money to spend, especially the way the government departments work, if you don't spend it, you don't get it next year. We all know cases where the end of the year's come round and it's, how much have we got left? Right, okay, well, we need some new desk chairs.
We'd better spend it, because otherwise they'll cut our budget.
Yeah, but
it's not uncommon.
No, but I mean, you can't necessarily say, well, the government doesn't do that, because then you'll end up with departments sat on piles of money, and everyone's paying. Say you can't. It's going to be really hard to turn around to people and say, look, we've spent all this money, but all we need is another £25 billion for the NHS, and it'll all be sorted. It'll all be fine. Because people, and 25 billion is a low ball estimate. You're probably talking, if they were to say to sort it out, they probably want 50 or 100. But you can't say to people who've watched the money rise and rise and rise, all we need is this off you. All we need is a bit more tax, and you'll be able to go and see your GP, because unfortunately that is unlikely to be the case.
Many years ago, I interviewed a health secretary, you know, the Minister for Health, and that person said, look, the government's budget from taxation is £650 billion a year. If every penny of that went to the health service, every single penny of it, the health service would still have waiting lists, and it would still have people not getting treated who should have been. Because it's just the way it is. But good to talk to you, Michael. We've depressed everybody, and so my life has not been in vain. Good to talk to you. How do John?
How do Alan? Hello, Alan.
Hello, what would you like to talk about?
Yeah, sorry, I think we got cut off before. Nevertheless, what's your view on everything?
I don't have a view on everything. In fact, I have no view on most things. But thank you for asking. 0800 218 2255. If you want to join us, you can. Pick up your phone and have your say. You can talk about absolutely anything. The front pages of the newspapers later today, that's the Sunday newspapers, are carrying headlines such as S Club Rachel's Ice Lover. I don't know what that means. Oh, TV skate partners in romance. Okay. That's the Sun on Sunday, so we found out there what's important to them. The Sunday Express, activist civil servants target Suella, having taken down the Deputy Prime Minister Raab. Unelected bureaucrats take aim at the Home Secretary boats crackdown. So there we are. And apparently Prince Louis has become 5 years of age. So that's a front page story, dear God. The Sunday Times, MI6 spy sent to a jihadist camp, killed own child. Good Lord. A report warned he was emotionally unstable. PM aides wanted to save Raab. Of course they did. No passengers for young drivers is a suggestion. And Britain's trapped in Sudan war zone. So there you have it. And quite a lot there are, apparently. The Observer, Tory plan to politicise the civil service after the Raab scandal, and care homes using revenge evictions to stifle complaints. And Edna Everage is on the Dame Edna Everage is on the front of the Observer, the late Barry Humphries, of course. Interestingly, that two comedians who made their name dressing up as women and basically being funny have died recently. It's just interesting linking the two. The Sunday Telegraph, Braverman, I'm ready to defy judges on migrants. That's what we want. A government that doesn't obey the law. Sunak using Tory MPs as cannon fodder to shield himself. And hearing aid users warn to disconnect for the phone alert. Don't forget the phone alert is coming. Isn't it 3 o'clock tomorrow? Can't remember. I think it is. Anyway, there you are. Such is life. And it'll all go beep, 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 or whatever the noise is. I won't hear it. I haven't got a phone. Well, a mobile one anyway. The Mail on Sunday, extremists vow plot to spook the king's horses with rape alarms. That sounds absolutely diabolical. 0800 218 2255. How do John?
Hello, Alan. Is it true that you was on the phone there for 4.5 minutes with a known paedophile there?
I've no idea. How do Tony?
Hello, Alan. Are you all right? I've got two quick fire jokes for you.
Go on then.
Is that all right? This fella went to the doctors and he said, every time I have a poo, he says, you come out in little squares. And the doctor said, you need to cut 3 inches off your string vest.
Right.
And then this fella, I forgot the other one. This fella went to the doctor. He said, every morning at 6 o'clock, I have a big poo. He says, there's nothing wrong with that. It's good to be regular. He said, I only get up at 7.
Right, thank you. The old ones are sometimes good. Well, I don't know whether we can go so far as to say good, but it's a night. Have fun. 0800 218 2255. Want to join us, you can. Pick up your phone and I'll tell you what's on the Mail on Sunday. Barry Humphries stayed sober for 50 years. Why Barry Humphries stayed sober for 50 years, it says here, a special tribute. So there, Barry Humphries being Dame Edna. Tributes and tears for Dame Edna Everidge. Star Barry Humphries, who has died, of course. Good night, possums. I can't do the voice, but he could. He was very good. The Mirror, Johnson's 4K a night holiday at Lone Pal's Villa. Boris's luxury Caribbean break, trip to cousins branded shameless, and BBC boss cash probe imminent. Ooh, we'll all look forward to reading that, won't we? Yes, we will. 0800 218 2255. If you want to join us, you can. It's dead easy. Just pick up your phone. You can talk about absolutely anything. I really don't mind. The Brecon Beacons were in the news. I've been on the Brecon Beacons. They're fabulous. They're hard work sometimes, but anyway, the fabulous Brecon Beacons has had its name changed to Banai Brukiniog. I may have mispronounced that. My apologies if I have, to all the Welsh people who can pronounce it properly. But Banai Brukiniog. But apparently it's more eco-friendly as a name, because beacon, I mean, that's where they used to burn stuff to send messages. You used to send messages, not like Morse code. You couldn't decipher it, but they used to have these big braziers on top of hills, and they used to say, like, we're at war, big fire there, fire. Yeah, exactly. And so they've changed the name. They've got it more eco-friendly without the beacons, as it were. So it's Banai Brukiniog. And it's one of the most challenging wild areas in the UK, so much so that the SAS use it for endurance training. I'm glad I'm not the one that's got to break the news to them. Can't call it that anymore, lad. Who says? Hey, what are you talking about? Yes, exactly. 0800 218 2255. How does Stephen? Hello, Stephen.
Hello, Allan. About the subject of doctors again, you know. My friend's like a similar age, he's in his 70s, and he said that in the 50s and 60s, when they had a shortage of doctors, said they was encouraging doctors to come over from India. He said a lot of the doctors in the UK, but were trained in the UK, ended up going over to America, you know, for better money, obviously.
Yeah.
And he said once the doctors came over from India, if they wanted to do the same, he said they'd have more problems than what our doctors would have over here in the UK. You know, like going to America or wherever, Australia, for better money. You know, so I mean, I'm only going off what he told me. I'm not going off actual evidence, you know.
Well, it's probably true. I mean, we do have a lot of, every nationality under the sun almost working in our hospitals, and all the better for that, you might say. I can remember when I was nursing, half the nurses I came in that joined us, I was a psyche nurse, they weren't doing that, but half the nurses that joined the hospital in 1 year were from Chile, because Pinochet was throwing people out. So the people who had qualifications in nursing came to the UK and got jobs as nurses, and welcome they were too.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, it's just that's how the world works. And
we'd be lost without them anyway.
We'd be absolutely screwed without them. The National Health Service without expat foreigners, as it were, now would be decimated. If you removed all the non-British born doctors from the National Health Service, nurses and all the rest of it, it would be done for. That would be the end of it.
Absolutely. Can I just talk about something else?
Of course you can.
I just want to compliment the Welsh on the roads and the standard of the roads in comparison with the northwest of England, especially Bolton, where I live, where it's every time you're driving down the road, you're trying trying to not hit a pothole and damage your car. Whereas I find in Wales, North Wales, driving through the roads, they're immaculate. You don't have the same problems, you know. I don't know how you found it.
Well, certainly some of the roads, the A55 in North Wales has had millions and millions of pounds spent on it in the past 5 years. So one would hope that that's got better.
Yeah.
But what the rural roads are like, I think they're, once you get away from the main roads, I think they're just as clumpy as everywhere else.
Yeah, I mean the main streets around, like in this area, Harrods, and especially Harrods at the moment. I mean, every time you go out driving, you can't avoid a pothole. They're absolutely everywhere. You're watching where you sort of trying to miss a pothole, but then you're distracted because you've got the traffic coming the other way. It's an hazard, really.
Might make people drive more slowly, though, mightn't it? Might in the end might be beneficial.
Yeah. That's true. We've got too many idiots on the road, I know.
Oh, that's true. The trouble is, the number of people I hear say that, and I think, well, you sound like an idiot. I don't mean you, but no one ever says they ought to get rid of me off the road because I'm a bloody awful driver and a complete idiot. They always say it's all the other ones. Get rid of all the other ones and get in my bloody way.
That's it.
Good on you, Stephen. Good to hear from you, mate. Have a good night. 0800 218 2255. If you're right sharp, we've got about a minute and a half. You could squeeze in when nobody's looking. Well, obviously Talat will be looking because he's in charge, and Jane will be looking because she's got a connection, and I won't be looking because I don't give her stuff. But that's that's how it works. We have people who can and people who care, and then me, which is how it works. We are, of course, back tomorrow, providing that the alarm when it goes off at 3 o'clock or whatever time it is isn't for real, and 4 minutes later we get bombed. I don't know. I mean, it might just be saying, we don't want everyone panicking, so we can't stop the alarm, so we'll let it go off, and then it'll be all right. And they're going to be able to do it by phone mast. The idea is that tomorrow is a test, and after that it'll be used more specifically, but more directed. It won't be nationwide, unless there's need for nationwide. So if your area is going to suffer a big flood or whatever, just the phone masts in your area will tell you, or at least tell your phone. And whether there'll be what the writing will be. First time I've ever thought, I wish I had a phone. Really, it'd be nice to take part, or at least to hear one, and then I'll have a look at that. Yes, there you go. Very funny. I don't know. It might be a good idea. We'll find out. Anyway, we're going to give it a try. Well, the government's going to give it a try tomorrow. You want to come on and tell us about it tomorrow night? You'll be well, tonight it'll be now, won't it? Well, not now. It's now, but tonight, not tomorrow. Good. Never mind. I've been Beswick. You once again, inevitably, have been brilliant. See you tonight at 10. Till then, have a good Sunday. Whoop! That's me trying it out.
BBC News at 1 o'clock. This is Charlie Jones. Friends of the Australian comedian Barry Humphries have described him as a one-off, following his death at the age of 89. He'll be best remembered for his flamboyant and sharp-witted alter ego, Dame Edna Everage. Staying in character for an episode of the BBC's Desert Island Discs programme in 1988, he spoke to Sue Lawley about his childhood.
I used to learn little poems and songs at school, and I was too shy to sing them to my aunties. I had to hide behind the curtains in our lounge and pretend to be the wireless. I remember that. And my bell-like notes would come out through them.
Prince William has sent his congratulations to Wrexham after they won promotion back to the Football League after 15 years. The American actors Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney, who co-own the club, were among the crowd who watched the Welsh side beat Bournemouth 3-1. The Prince of Wales, who's president of the FA, said he was looking forward to a very exciting future. Rob Phillips, who was commentating for BBC Wales, watched the final moments.
I make it almost time! The final whistle goes! And the loudest racecourse roar for a generation will tell you Rexham are back in the Football League. 15 years of pain and heartache and flirting with oblivion.
The BBC understands that the government is looking at ways of evacuating British embassy staff from Sudan. People have been trapped there while fighting between rival factions of the military continues. A number of British nationals in Khartoum have told the BBC of their frustration and anxiety over not knowing whether, how or when they'll be able to get out of the country. Rishi Sunak chaired an emergency Cobra meeting yesterday, and ministers are expected to hold more talks in the morning. A loud alarm will be heard on smartphones across the UK at 3 o'clock this afternoon. The government is testing a new emergency alert, which could be used in the future to warn people about life-threatening situations, such as fires, floods or terror attacks. A zoo in Lancashire is recruiting people to act as human seagull deterrents. Successful candidates for the role in Blackpool must be comfortable dressing up as giant birds. With more details, here's Holly Gibbs.
The Seaside Zoo is recruiting a team of what they call seagull deterrents. The role will involve dressing up in an inflatable bird costume to try and scare the gulls away from dining areas. Bosses at the zoo say the birds have been stealing food from visitors and from within animal enclosures. Blackpool Zoo say the ideal candidate will be friendly, energetic, visitor-focused, and presumably happy to spend the day inside a 7-foot inflatable eagle.
Holly Gibbs reporting there. And to the weather, a cloudy night for most of the UK. BBC News, it's 3 minutes past 1.